rights, both during and before her Supreme Court nomination.
Before Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the co-founder of the ACLU Women's Rights Project and brought cases to the Supreme Court, it was completely legal for the federal government to discriminate against women. And by the time she was done, the Constitution considered women as equal people.
The exhibit is full of immersive environments like this one, where you can actually try on a robe similar to what Justice Ginsburg would wear, and she has a signature move. She wears these jabots or collars depending on whether she has a dissenting or a majority opinion, and this is her dissent collar. And voila, you too can become a Supreme Court justice for a moment.
It looks very different than your traditional history exhibition because we encourage you to touch and play and explore, and in some cases, physically try on things.
And tributes, so many tributes to Notorious RBG, even those that come from the skin of people's cheeks.
It's a tribute to the justice made with my own skin, my own cheek skin that I source from the inside of my mouth based on nervous cheek biting habit. And I make an image with the skin pigmented with tattoo inks.
As for her private life, she had a lifelong love affair with her husband, Marty, who died in 2010.
They were partners in life. He wanted Ruth to be able to pursue her dreams and her goals.
And Ginsburg has done just that as she continues to fight for equal rights for everyone. As for her rapper, Notorious RBG rep, she's grown to laugh and like it.
The exhibit will be at Skirval Center until March of 2019. Well, it was a stand against sexual harassment and assault as hundreds took to the streets in downtown LA demanding respect for all women, no matter what kinds of clothes they wear.
Women should not be afraid to walk down the street half naked and be harassed by men, or for people to think that we want it.
I'm here to support all the women, their bodies. They can do whatever they want with them. Nobody can tell them what to do.
This is Slut Walk Day, so this is the day that we can be free, dress up a little bit sexy, and don't judge people how they're dressed or how they look or how skinny or fat you are. We need to stop this.
So we're here to empower women, stand for what's right, and go sluts.
I'm here for anti-shaming for trans women, and the anti-culture against rape here is not good enough.
We want to support other women. We want to support anybody who's been a victim of sexual assault. We want to support and bring positivity to their lives, that we're marching for hope that things will change. Why would it ever be your fault? If you say no, if you cannot say no, it's not your fault. It is whoever raped you's fault.
They need to learn consent because it hurts people when you don't. You need consent. A yes is a yes. No means no. There are people that love you and believe you, and the world is changing. Have hope. We have a slut walk. We have people organizing. We have people protesting. Things are changing for you. And vote. That will get people out of office who believe in silencing us. Vote.
Activist and feminist Amber Rose started the annual walk, which is now in its 4th year. Over at La Plaza, Angelinos came together for another common cause, celebrating and mourning loved ones who are no longer with us. El Velorio at La Plaza de la Raza was all about community and giving back.
Ouch! That foot in the fire has got to hurt. Oh, wait, these people are all supposed to be dead, or at least dressed up like it anyway, so maybe it doesn't hurt. As the Day of the Dead holiday descends on Angelinos, this El Velorio event helps honor those who have passed on.
In English, it's the wake, so it's a part of the whole death process, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to call it El Velorio.
Day of the Dead is about a month-long celebration of life and death and family and friends, and I'm a person that respects both life and death. I actually have it tattooed on my chest.
The Mexican-American celebration honors all dead loved ones, but at least on this night, it focuses on artists and musicians like dead mariachis.
And this is a representation of some of the musicians that have passed, and also some of the battles that we fought to get where we're at.
I personally had daughter and a son that passed away, so kind of just in memory of them.
I always celebrate their lives. Always, every day.
The dead here apparently come in all shapes, sizes, and forms of expression, from scary and tense to the downright nice, sweet, and friendly. Or we leave this one for you to decide.
A Catrina is a woman from the Day of the Dead, and most commonly they're all dolled up. They are in gorgeous gowns, gorgeous makeup, and usually as we see them, they're skeletons.
My makeup represents, more a living culture that is still going on here in Los Angeles, a culture so beautiful that needs to become bigger, and that not many are really knowing of it.
Kind of like Halloween, but not really.
We bring photos of our deceased, and it's a day to honor them. It's very different from Halloween. Halloween is just, in my opinion, is just a costume party.
Costume party or not, it's a chance to celebrate life and death and art, whether you're ghoulish, happy, beautiful, or sad. And you have 30 days to do it.
El Velorio helped raise funds for La Plaza de la Raza Cultural Center. Turning now to another cultural event, crowds came to Pershing Square to celebrate Oktoberfest. Here in LA, we of course change it up a bit by mixing some local brews with traditional German ones.
I have been to Munich, Germany to Oktoberfest 3 times, and I always wondered why LA didn't have one, an outdoor, really outdoor Oktoberfest. And so 3 years ago, I embarked on putting it together. This is our 3rd year, and it's been successful. People have responded well to it. I think it's a cultural event more than anything, because besides beer, you get to enjoy food from Germany, clothing from Germany, music from Germany. That's pretty fantastic.
The first Oktoberfest in downtown LA took place in 2016. Well, it's become a beloved annual tradition of music, art, and community. Rasha Goel takes us down by the LA River to the Frogtown Art Walk.
Art, food, entertainment, and much more along the LA River in Elysian Valley. It's the 11th annual Frogtown Art Walk, a community festival that brings artists, businesses, and residents together. Frogtown Art Walk is held every other year. Residents say they enjoy being able to come out and celebrate the creativity in the neighborhood.
I'm very happy because it's gonna get people out and be more cultural, and we meet the neighbors and see people.
Residents get to connect with nature and art, while artists are excited to share their work.
Frogtown's going through a lot of changes and interesting ones. I think we're in a very interesting point in time where many communities are sort of merging here.
The name Frogtown comes from the frogs that used to emerge from the grassy banks, and it was later adopted by local gangs to keep most locals and artists away. But things have changed over the past few years, where now a thriving creative community has blossomed.
I would have never thought it would have been like this. Never would have thought. 20, 30 years ago, growing up, this was all commercial business, and we never thought it would come down to gentrification. It's a lot different than it was.
Night installations also illuminated the streets. Frogtown has become a place for many artists where they are able to fuel their creative process.
As you just saw, free pedicabs were offered along the LA River path during the event. A new care center for people experiencing homelessness. The LADWP gets the valley ready for an earthquake, and a grant helps improve access to the LA River from Studio City. All these stories in City Beat. Mayor Eric Garcetti joined Councilmember Gil Cedillo and other state and local officials for the grand opening of the Pico Union Recuperative Care Center, where homeless Angelenos can heal after being discharged from the hospital and be connected to housing resources and social services. Amenities include semi-private rooms, an informal clothing closet where residents can access donated clothing and accessories, regular visiting hours, and a community garden for neighbor and client use.
Thank you all so much for making this day possible. We will end homelessness in LA.
City leaders visited the construction site of the longest earthquake-resistant pipeline project in the nation. The project, located in the San Fernando Valley, is adding 4 miles of LADWP pipe that transports water over the San Fernando Fault in Sylmar to residents in the Sunland-Tahunga area of the valley. The project is part of LADWP's commitment to meet the mayor's goal to install a total of 14 miles of earthquake-resistant iron pipeline by 2020. City and state officials also celebrated $150,000 in new funding to revitalize the Studio City Greenway along the LA River. The grant from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and awarded to the City of Los Angeles will go toward improving bike and pedestrian access points, restoring the landscaping, and enhancing public health and safety along the Greenway from Whitsett Avenue to Laurel Canyon Boulevard. It's made up of a unique list of ingredients like chocolate, cinnamon, chilies, and more, creating a rich, intense flavor. It's mole, a Mexican sauce that simmers in tradition.
Here we are at the Feria de los Moles in Grant Park in downtown Los Angeles. This is the 11th annual feria that we have.
The mole came about back in the Oaxaca when we wanted to make a dish that combined our ingredients. And during the colonization period, as we started doing trade and everything, we gained more products.
It goes very well with just about anything. I've had it for many years, and I enjoy it to this day.
11 years ago, these small group of people came to my office from Puebla. They said they wanted to start a Feria de los Moles so that people in Los Angeles could taste the great mole that was founded or first created in the city of Puebla, Mexico. And here we are 11 years later, has become one of the largest outdoor food festivals in the United States. But I think what's made it so popular is that not only is mole delicious, it's a sauce that's created with different ingredients like chocolate and cinnamon and all kinds of great stuff. But also it's so popular because people want to come together and simply celebrate the culture. And this is a great example of what happens when people in Los Angeles are working with the Mexican government to continue to make this a great event. And each year it gets bigger and bigger, more music, more food, more fun, and it's just a great thing to see.
Celebrate Dia de los Muertos in Pacoima, fall into fun at the Griffith Park Harvest Festival, and see a downtown LA landmark light up with music. All this in this week's Things to Do. Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez invites you for Dia de los Muertos Music and Arts Festival in Pacoima. The 2-day street festival along Van Nuys Boulevard will feature Latino artists and entertainers, tasty food, contests, and community vendors. You don't want to miss out on this fun and free event for all ages in LA. The festival takes place November 3rd and 4th at 12 p.m. at the Pacoima City Hall, located at 13520 Van Nuys Boulevard. Fall into fun at the Griffith Park Harvest Festival. Celebrate the changing seasons with the 2nd annual Harvest Festival in Griffith Park. Join in for live music, food, local craft, beer, games, climbing wall, and other fun autumn activities. Co-hosted by the Los Angeles Parks Foundation and the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks. The festival takes place Sunday, November 4th from 12 to 4 p.m. at 4730 Crystal Springs Drive. The Triforium in downtown LA lives again. Its original light and sound programs, rescued from dusty 8-bit paper tapes and transcoded into modern software, will return, reacting in real time to live musical performances. For the first time in decades, Angelenos will have an opportunity to experience the Triforium as it was meant to be experienced. See it in action on Friday, November 2nd in downtown LA. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitv.org and check out our newest social media videos, LA This Minute. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Tujunga Spreading Grounds and other spreading grounds like it are critical for the future of the city's water supply.
LADWP and the Los Angeles County Flood Control District are working together on the Tujunga Spreading Grounds Enhancement Project. The improved spreading grounds will capture more stormwater and help enhance local water supplies.
This facility behind me is roughly over 1 acre and could fill up to 10 feet deep. That is enough to supply 30 single-family homes per year.
There are currently 20 similar basins of varying sizes at Tujunga Spreading Grounds. The spreading basins are like football field-sized bowls that capture stormwater before they percolate into the natural aquifer below and recharge the groundwater. The project will reconfigure the current 20 bowls into 10 deeper basins, vastly increasing the stormwater capture capacity.
Every time it rains, we need more capacity to put that rainwater into the ground. But we need to get water into the San Fernando Valley groundwater aquifer, then it can become groundwater supply that our wells will pull out and treat and deliver to all the residents.
The Tujunga Spreading Grounds sit on a 150-acre site in Sun Valley at the intersection of Interstate 5 and CA 170, right on top of the San Fernando groundwater aquifer.
We're looking to really turn toward local water resources and not have so much reliance on imported water. And so part of the plan is to be able to produce more local groundwater, but we have to get water into the ground for the future.
By increasing the size of the spreading basins, the project will double the facility's recharge capacity. On a year that LA gets the average amount of rain it usually gets, the spreading ground will collect up to 5 billion gallons of water each year to recharge the groundwater basin annually. This is enough water to sustain approximately 48,000 homes all year. LADWP also invests in smaller-scale, street-level stormwater capture projects that have multiple side benefits.
They minimize local flooding if there is flooding on the streets. They provide the community open space, and they generally beautify the community with native vegetation, open space, and wildlife.
Beautification is also a part of the Tujunga Spreading Grounds Enhancement Project's overall objective. Aside from recharging the aquifer, the renovation will allow for passive recreation on community open space.
Hola, soy Marisol, desde Canoga Park, la ciudad toda americana. Estás viendo LA City View, Canal 35, nuestra ciudad, nuestro canal.
Okay. Shh. Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to City Hall, your City Hall. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris-Dawson, Weiser, Caress, Gregorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Okay, let's, Rue moves, Rodriguez seconds, next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Weezer moves, Blumenfield seconds.
And
Next.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday and time for the flag salute.
Could we all rise? We will be led today in our flag salute by Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. Let's quickly run through the agenda.
Mr. President, items 1 through 11 are items noticed for public hearing.
You have cards.
Yes, there are cards on all items.
Continue.
Items 12 through 27 are items for which public hearings have been held. There are requests to hold items 20 and 21.
Okay, let's do that. Ms. Rodriguez.
19, please. 19 for special.
19. Let's vote on the remaining. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Continue.
Items 28 through 35 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. You have cards on these items?
Yes, there are cards on all items.
Okay, that brings us where?
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations, items called special or general public comment.
Thank you very much. I'd like to I have two quick requests. First request is that for a moment, just for a little while, let us please be quiet. The next request is that we all rise. You know, whenever there is a mass shooting or some kind of tragedy in this nation, we rise, those of us seated around this horseshoe, and we express our disbelief and our sadness. We have done that too many times. But it's something that is important that we do. Mr. Herman, this is a very important moment for a lot of people in this city, in this county, in this state, and in this country. If you disrupt, I will remove you from these chambers. So sergeants, if you have to go stand right next to him, because this is too sad of a moment for his tomfoolery. I would like to defer at this point in time to Mr. Bob Blumenfield. I think it would be appropriate for you to request a moment of silence, talk about these occurrences, and we'll take it from there.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate you taking this moment at the beginning of the meeting. We're talking, of course, about the horrible acts that were committed this weekend at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, where this was the deadliest attack on U.S. soil on the Jewish community. 11 people were murdered. And they were murdered by someone who was expressing pure hate. He said as he was shooting, "All Jews must die." And when you go to his social media, you see just all forms of hate. And it's at this time, this horrible shooting also comes at a time when we have this growing culture of hate. When in the very same week, we saw a murderous racist go into a Kroger and shoot a grandfather who was there helping his grandson with some poster board just because he was black. And we've seen shootings throughout this country. In Charleston, at the AME Emmanuel Church. We saw it at the bombing of the mosque in Minnesota. We've seen school shooting after school shooting. This culture of hate has been growing, and it has got to stop. You know, we talk about tolerance. I'm sick of tolerance. Tolerance is too low of a bar. We need to go beyond that. We need to embrace each other. And in Los Angeles, we can be the beacon of hope. We are the most diverse city in the nation, and we need to reverberate our love for each other, because love will conquer, unity will conquer, and we can move forward. So I'm going to read the 11 names. After I finish that, I'd like you to, for a moment of silence, think about these 11 people, but also think about the victims of these other shootings, the victims of the Pulse nightclub who were killed just because of their sexual orientation. Think about all of the people who have been killed for hate. And as we read these names, take a moment to think about how we can redouble our efforts for love and unity to overcome. So I'm going to read the names. Joyce Feinberg, 75 years old. Richard Gottfried, 65 years old. Jerry Rabinowitz, 66 years old. Cecile Rosenthal, 59 years old. David Rosenthal, 54 years old. Irving Younger, 69 years old. Bernice Simon, 84 years old. Siobhan Simon, 86 years old. Daniel Stein, 71 years old. Melvin Wax, 88 years old. And Rose Mallinger, 97.
Mr. Blumenfield, I'd like to call on Mr. Koretz. And if any other members would want to say something at this time, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. President. And it is true that this is a tragic time in our history when we see this kind of hateful act occur over and over. I feel it more deeply because it was an attack on the Jewish people and the worst attack, I believe, in our history. But we see it targeted for just about every other group we can imagine. And I think it is true that we need to redouble our efforts to combat this kind of hatred in our country. We also have to remember the 11 who died, and in a unique circumstance, at a synagogue celebrating a new birth, at the Tree of Life Synagogue with the most ironic name possible. I feel perhaps a little more strongly because the rabbi at that synagogue did a wedding in the city of Los Angeles for two of my good friends. And then not that long afterwards, had to deal with this. We should remember folks as the people that they were, and some of the things that their stories brought out is things like having an infectious laugh, or being kind or generous or good-hearted or cherished friends. These were all good people who lost their lives, and sadly, I don't think they'll be the last. It may not even be a day or a week until some other dramatic massacre occurs, and we have to work as hard as we can to stop this climate of hatred and turn it around so we don't see the next one and the next one and the next one. And we think of the word shalom, which of course means hello, and appropriately goodbye and peace.
Mr. Cedillo.
Mr. President, yesterday I want to acknowledge our dear colleague, Mr. Blumenfield, for his leadership in convening us last night promptly, immediately. And last night I said how exhausted I am by this last 2 years of, hate, and I'm just tired of it. But we can't be tired and exhausted and not do something. We have to remain determined in our efforts. It's simple in some ways. Hate speech leads to hate crimes. And we constantly have the debate in this chamber about First Amendment rights. But there's limits. You can't shout fire in a crowded theater. And so we need to think about that a little more critically as we allow people to continue to denigrate other people and to dehumanize other people. Of course, the leadership of that movement, the top purveyor of hate in the nation is unfortunately our president. And so that is the case, at least perhaps for the next 2 years. But last night as I spoke, I also mentioned that there's a quote, caravan of humanity coming north, refugees seeking refuge. And they have a legal right. It's recognized in the UN throughout the world. They have a legal right to flee their country. And they have a legal right to approach other countries to see if they are eligible for asylum. And so why were these 11 Jewish people killed in Pittsburgh? They were killed because the terrorists believed that they were responsible for creating asylum, that they had a organization that created that took in refugees. And so the person was appalled by that. And so inflamed by the president's rhetoric, believing that there's hordes of people coming to the border, believing, as the president has asserted, that there are terrorists and gangbangers ready to seize our nation, this man felt both emboldened and angered to go and attack these innocent people, people who have a bigger heart than most, who believe that it's their obligation, their moral, ethical, religious obligation to take in other refugees. And so we should be vigilant, Mr. President, and again, be more critical of the hate that is spewed both in these chambers and our communities, because as we know, tragically, this Saturday, but as studies show, like that liberal organization, the FBI, that hate speech leads to hate crimes, and that we should think critically of that. Bob, I thank you for your leadership. I love you. I care about you. I appreciate you. Paul, as well. Because as I said yesterday, today, we are all Jewish, but today we are also African American and immigrant, Mexican, LGBTQ, and essentially we are all Americans, Mr. President, and that's why we stand now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank Councilman Blumenfield and everyone else who spoke before me and for all your heartfelt words. And you know, for the past 72 hours, I've been in a state of shock as well. What happened Saturday was felt around the nation, and it left us with grief and with loss and with the reality that what took place in a synagogue in Pittsburgh was not new or isolated. The Jewish people have been persecuted throughout history. And it seems that every time hate is allowed to flourish, every time politics uses fear or conspiracy, every time a leader has sought a scapegoat, the Jewish people have been the first to suffer the consequences. Equally troubling has been the reality that this country, the country that I love, the country that has accepted me, has been the staging grounds for so much racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, xenophobia, and white nationalism. This is a good country. It's been a place of hope and refuge for millions of people, including our founding fathers. But it is also a country with a long history of hate, from Jim Crow laws to exclusion acts, from the Trail of Tears to internment camps. In fact, our very own city in the 1930s was home to the largest and most organized Nazi movement in the United States. What we saw in Pittsburgh on Saturday was part of our nation's long history of hate and othering that many people around this horseshoe have seen and experienced firsthand. This kind of hate just doesn't go away. We have to face it. And with a nation of peaceful and seeking for a nation of peaceful discourse just doesn't happen. We have to work for it. And especially now, we have to work twice as hard. We, the elected leaders of Los Angeles, must condemn and combat hate in all forms. We must speak out in support of the marginalized, and we must take action to keep people, all people, safe. And I've been working with many of my colleagues and Mr. Englander to work on analysis of hate crimes in our city. And I pledge that in the city of Los Angeles that we will move forward on this analysis and do more to be proactive. Because though we cannot erase hate in our country or stop every shooting that has happened in a church, mosque, or synagogue, we can do everything in our power to ensure that this does not happen in Los Angeles. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. Just to add to that, when toxic beliefs go without us confronting them, when we allow them to go without us forcing a conversation, then evil does grow. I was at an event this weekend with Lieutenant Governor Newsom, and he did indicate that this country was coming apart at the seams. But he said that he felt that the cure for the disease that is threatening this nation is Los Angeles, that we should be the antidote, that we should be the medicine to try in confronting these issues. And we've done some things. We've Days of Dialogue, Embrace LA. But as my daughter-in-law's pastor said several months ago, No longer can we just be non-racist. We have to be anti-racist. And we as individuals, not just elected officials, need to try to build an army of hope, an army of love. So it is our responsibility, all of ours, that when we're at lunch, when we're at breakfast, when we're giving speeches, when we're talking to people, that we make sure that we have this conversation. And if there's one way to try to change this world, we change it by changing ourselves. Because when you change yourself, you change your family. And when you change your family, you change your community. And when you change your community, you change your county. Change your county, you change your state. When you change your state, you change your country. And when you change your country, you change the world. And it all starts with us. But we as individuals can no longer sit back and wait for some massive march, to wait for some big church movement. As individuals, we have to go out every day and try to bring people over to our side, where people will be judged based on who they are, not what they look like. And where whatever religion they practice should not matter. And we have to deliver the message that we have much more in common than we do that separates us. And the things that make us different are special things that should be celebrated. And maybe we can't all love each other, but we can get to a point where everybody accepts the fact that they have a right, other people have a right to exist in peace. And I think that that's a responsibility that every human being in this city and this country has to do, not just elected officials, but you have to make sure that every time you come in contact with people that they understand that we're not going to tolerate this, and the only way to do that is for us to fight it one person at a time. So I'd now like to call on, and again, I want to thank Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Koretz for making sure that we do this, did this morning, and now let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to recognize Mr. Price for our first presentation of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues, for taking part in such a moving tribute to not only the victims, but those of us that are still here. And today I'm pleased to join with representatives from each of the 11 charities that make up the City of LA's combined charitable campaign, also known as Give to LA. These are folks who are on the front lines providing the kinds of services, the kind of outreach, the kind of commitment and care that our community so desperately needs. For over 22 years, this campaign has pooled the efforts of many of the most respected and successful charitable agencies in LA into a single employee fundraising endeavor. The goal is to improve the quality of life for all the people in all the communities of this great city. The 11 charitable agencies that participate in the Give to LA campaign raise funds for over 400 member charities that offer a variety of programs, assisting everyone from the newborn to the elderly. These charities provide much-needed social services, healthcare programs, environmental programs, and scholarships. They positively impact your communities, your neighbors, and perhaps even you and your family. We're going to be presenting certificates to each of these organizations today: the Asian Pacific Community Fund, the Brotherhood Crusade, the City of Hope, the Community Health Charities, EarthShare California, LA Meals on Wheels, the LA Trust for Children's Health, United Lennox Fund, the United Negro College Fund, and the United Way of Greater Los Angeles, and the variety of the Children's Charity of Southern California. The variety of the Children's Charity of Southern California. Let's give these charities a hand, please. The Give to LA campaign would not be successful without their efforts. Let me invite Stephen Simon, the City of LA's Give to LA campaign department liaison, to say a few words. Stephen?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, folks. Thank you, council member. Thank you, council members, for recognizing the extraordinary 11 organizations that are behind me. As Councilmember Price pointed out, they provide services across all of Los Angeles, all 15 council districts, and have served hundreds of thousands of Angelinos over the years. That said, today isn't really about thanking them. They came here today to thank you. They're here to thank council members. They're here to thank council staff. They're here to thank all city employees who work day in and day out to serve Angelinos, but then go above and beyond. And they take $5 or $10 or $25 or more from their hard-earned paychecks to donate to these organizations so they can do their work. So on behalf of the Department on Disability, I want to join them in thanking you. It's been a pleasure to be the city's liaison to this campaign. And again, we couldn't do the extraordinary work that the folks behind me have been doing without your help and support. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for your commitment. And on behalf of the charities, I'd like to present Patricia Smith from EarthShare California, the 2018 lead charity for this program.
Let her through.
Come on through.
Well, thank you, President Wesson, and all of the City Council and councilwomen for having us here today and giving us the opportunity to thank you all for your support of the Give to LA campaign. Now, this campaign is really a collaborative effort with all of my colleagues behind me. In this year's or last year's campaign, we had over 160 new employees sign up. We raised over $300,000, which will go back out to our communities and will help our fellow Angelinos. So what I have behind me, as you can see, is that check that will be going out to all of the charities that we represent. So on behalf of EarthShare California and my colleagues in this campaign, we want to thank you all for your support of Give to LA. And don't forget, the campaign is going on right now, and it will wrap up on November 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you to a wonderful chair. As she said, let's make sure that we do our part to fill the gap. Fill out the form today. I think there's one on your desk. So don't be shy. Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to go back here and take a second.
Well, if Mr. Rue would go to the center aisle, let's reconsider a couple of items before he starts. Madam Clerk, what are the items?
There's a request to reconsider items 18 and 22.
Okay, let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, we'll leave them there for now, and I'll defer to Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. And thank you, Mr. Price, for Give to LA. That is a very good program, and we should all get involved. But today, SCAG is in the house. I am honored to be joined here by Hassan Ikrada, the Executive Director of the Southern California Association of Governments, also known as SCAG, as well as the entire leadership of SCAG, Alan Wapner, President of SCAG and Councilmember for Ontario, California, behind us, Bill John, First Vice President of SCAG and Councilmember for Big Bear Lake, Randon Lane, Second Vice President of SCAG and Councilmember for Duarte. Oh, Murrieta. I'm sorry about that. Oh, Murrieta. Oh, I missed the line, sorry. Councilman from Murrieta. And of course, the councilman from Duarte and immediate past president of SCAG, Margaret Finley.
Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you all for your service. Thank you so very much, colleagues.
And I would be quite remiss if I did not mention David Chizzi, interim CEO of SCAG, right next to Hassan. Thank you for all being here. And as many of you know, SCAG is the largest metropolitan planning organization in the United States, representing 6 counties, 191 cities, and more than 19 million residents. SCAG leads the way on innovative policy and literally shapes the way our region grows. From transportation to sustainable energy, SCAG leads Southern California with one voice, helping make our region one of the leading metropolitan hubs in the nation. Marshaling that voice is one man, Hassan Ikrada. Through SCAG, where he has served as executive director since 2008, Mr. Ikrada directs the day-to-day operation and implements the policies of its 86-member regional council. With 25 years of experience in public and private sector, Mr. Ikrada has transformed this association, enhancing SCAG's value to its member agencies and bringing unprecedented levels of public input and participation. Mr. Ikrada has been the unifying leader at SCAG, bringing its 191 member cities together on major initiatives in our region, such as the $557 billion Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategies, also known as Connect SoCal, which lays down the transportation investment for the next quarter century. Mr. Ikrada also has had a very illustrious career, working for LA County Metro, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and many others. But on a personal note, I have known Hassan for over 15 years. We first met when I was working for then Supervisor Yvonne Burke, who was a member and also president of SCAG, and back then Hassan was the transportation manager of SCAG. And I can tell you, this guy brings people together and gets things done. He is an effective leader and a brilliant planner who has taught me almost everything I know about transportation policy. Many lunches and meetings. He is now taking the next steps of his career as he departs SCAG to serve as executive director of the San Diego Association of Governments. Now, many of you might be thinking, San Diego, isn't that smaller than SCAG? But actually, the San Diego Association of Governments just doesn't include their Council of Local Governments, but also their Transportation Authority. So Hassan has a lot of work cut out for him. But he will be dearly missed at SCAG, where he has led with skill and expertise and laid the groundwork for lots of exciting developments in our region. Now, to speak about this, I am very proud to invite up the president of the Southern California Association of Governments, Councilmember Alan Wapner.
Welcome, my friend, and welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, if you don't mind, as a member of the Jewish faith, I want to thank you for taking the time to recognize and remember the victims of the tragedy this past weekend. And I think, as my colleagues on your council stated, this wasn't just an attack on those victims nor an attack on the Jewish faith. It was an attack on all of us. It was an attack on America. So I appreciate all of your continued prayers for the victims and their families. Now for the matter at hand. I think some of you might remember the last time I addressed this council and the president was when we were going through negotiations for the transfer of Ontario Airport. And once again, I want to thank all of you for the support that you lent. I think that the transfer has worked out very well for both the city of Los Angeles as well as for the folks in the region and the Inland Empire. So once again, I want to thank you for your cooperation on that. I also want to thank you for your support of SCAG through the years. You know, you're the big dog in Southern California, and without your support, there's no way that SCAG can complete and do all the fine work that we do in this region. But today we're here to honor Hasan Ekrada. Not quite sure why. If you knew him, then you'd say why. I'll tell you a little bit about my personal experience with Hasan. You know, I was on the hiring committee when we hired Hasan, and I can tell you this, is that he came to us as our executive director at an extremely critical time during SCAG's history. That without Hasan coming in and implementing what he was able to do as far as outreach to the subregions, bringing folks in from the grassroots level into the planning process, there is absolutely no way that SCAG would be successful today. So for that, I certainly owe him my personal debt of gratitude, and I'm sure my colleagues and all of SCAG agree with me on this. Now, obviously, we're sad to see Hasan leave, but we also recognize that the positive in this is that while SCAG makes up most of the Southern California region, it's with the exception of San Diego County. So I think this is going to serve to the benefit of all Southern California residents, is that it's going to assist us in joining San Diego County with SCAG so that we can truly move forward as all of Southern California. So once again, I want to thank all of you for taking the opportunity for SCAG to be here to help honor Hasan, and especially for your support of Hasan and for SCAG through the years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good to see you again.
Thank you, Ellen, Mr. President. And I'd like to bring up Margaret Finlay, the immediate past president of SCAG, to also give a few words.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. And I have not been here before. I've been on the City Council in Duarte for 28 years, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we don't have anything like this. So anyway, it's beautiful, and thank you for having us here. You all have Cher, Beyonce, one-word names that people will never forget. And we have Hasan, no last name needed, because he's an amazing man. On a personal level, I will miss him. Professionally, he has gone beyond anything. But personally, I've seen this man play with my grandkids with blocks on the floor. So
wow.
Again, I bring this up because this is a man with many faces, and he's done so much for our region. But yet he's a very human person to me. Thank you for having us here so that we can honor one of the greatest men in Southern California. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hasan, I have 3 grandchildren, another one on the way. It's so good to know that you play with them with blocks. I may call you into service, all right? Mr. Rue, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, and I also want to have let Bill say a few words, driving all the way from Big Bear Lake just for Hasan.
Let's give him a round of applause. All right. From a beautiful, beautiful area. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to come up here and say a few quick words to my good friend Hasan Ekrada. I can tell you, as the incoming president to SCAG, I was not happy with his decision to leave. However, as a friend and a colleague, I couldn't be more excited for Hasan and his new challenges. But I'd like to make sure that this council is aware that we're going to carry on the good work that Hasan started while we search for a new executive director. And we look forward to and appreciate all of the support that we get from the city of Los Angeles. I'd also like to thank Councilman Rue for his hospitality before this meeting, and just rest assured that we're going to keep marching forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you, Bill. And just as far, but maybe not as far, Randon Lane from Murrieta.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. It's an honor to be here this morning to come and say a few words about Hasan Ekrada. Henry Ford once said, don't find fault, find a remedy. When I first joined SCAG, there were some angst within the counties, and Riverside County was actually looking at possibly leaving SCAG to form its own association of governments. Hassan didn't find fault. He found a remedy, and he told me, don't let the door hit you on your way out. And his point was is that you can always go out and try and do something better, but why leave something that's not broken, that's being very successful? Hassan has been a great leader for SCAG. We have seen the many things that they have done. This organization works well to bring better infrastructure and planning, as you all very well know, but we are so glad that Hassan has been here to lead this organization. We thank you for allowing us to be here to say a few kind words about him. We look forward to his leadership in San Diego. We're sad to see him go, but we look forward to the work that we will have together. Thank you, Mr. President, council members, for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Randon. And before I call up the man of the hour, are there some members?
Yes. Well, I would like to do two things. I'd like to just take a moment, President's privilege, and let's recognize our friend and colleague, the former Assistant President Pro Tem of the City Council, active with SCAG when he was here, Tom LaBonge. Let's give Tom LaBonge a round of applause.
Actually,
and I'd like to now, I'm sorry, Mr. Rue, I want to recognize Mr. Koretz. No, I don't want to recognize you, Mr. LaBonge. I'm recognizing Mr. Koretz.
Oh, I just want to say I haven't seen Tom LaBonge in a suit for quite a while, so I know this is a notable occasion. I do want to say I'm sorry to see you go. You've done a tremendous amount to make SCAG much more effective and have huge impact on public policy and much more effective in public input and getting that from all of your associated membership. So we'll miss you, and nobody said it, but you're a hell of a nice guy too. So everybody likes you, and we're sorry to see you go. My wife would be here to add her comment and recognition. Unfortunately, she's at the County Board of Supervisors at a meeting she had to be at. But I know she would ask me to extend my good wishes, which I do. And I hope you do well, and I know you will in San Diego, and work to bring us closer to San Diego. Sometimes I feel like there's sort of the odd county out. And so at the Metropolitan Water District, I tried to improve our working relationship with San Diego, and I believe you'll be able to help do that as well. So thank you for all your good work, and we look forward to continue working with you in another capacity.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And actually, this was supposed to be a co-presentation with our colleague Joe Buscaino, but we have the original, Mr. Tom LaBonge, who would like to say a few words, who was a very involved member of SCAG.
Well, thank you, David, but I think you said it best, and I'm talking to the staff behind the council members. When he spoke of working for Supervisor Yvonne Burke and having the assistance of Hassan, it was key. These other agencies are so important for us to work, and I know Monica Rodriguez understands that greatly. So I want to thank you, David, and I want to thank you, Hassan, who is like a great quarterback, Gil Cedillo. He gets in a huddle, he calls the play, and he drives down the field to make all the people score. We're a great city of great neighborhoods and a great county which has 88 cities and a great region that has 191 cities. And now we got a friend in San Diego. So I'm just so proud of him, and he helped me greatly when we got the purple line going again. I always call it the red line because I like red better than purple. But anyway, when we got it going down Wilshire and continue, it was real good. And Mr. President, thank you for the eloquent introduction of me and my past. You forgot one thing, because I always said I wanted this, and you made it happen. He said I was assistant pro tem, and one day Mayor Garcetti was in Washington, and Mitch Englander was at a conference in Colorado, and Herb called me and said, Tom, I'm in Inglewood. You're acting mayor in L.A. today. So I got that title too, but thank you, Mr. President. So nice to see all of you, especially the staffs, who I don't know all as well, because you make the difference to help the council members score for all of Los Angeles. Thank you, Mr. Rue. Give Mr. Rue a big hand.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. Now the man of the hour, our great executive director of the Southern California Association of Governments, Hassan Ikrada.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. Councilman Rue, council members, this city is a great city. Not only it is the second largest city in the U.S., but the city symbolizes how people can work together to make a great region work. I'll be happy to come babysit your grandchildren or children in case it doesn't work out, but I will tell you that the leadership that you put together in this city made us who we are at SCAG. And our leadership today here is an example of how much we appreciate your leadership in moving this region forward, because I believe wherever LA goes, we'll go with it, good or bad. And we are very grateful for your leadership. We are very grateful for your support of SCAG. And Councilman Rue, you gave me too much credit. I think I learned a few things from you too. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Give him a round of applause. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Now, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we'd like to present this proclamation to Hassan Ikrada for all of his years of service to the region. Thank you.
One more shot like this. Hold it high, because he's so good.
Again, thank you for all your service. Madam Clerk, why don't we call up item 21? On item 21, I believe we can just vote on that. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, I saw her earlier, Ms. McAllister.
And Mr. President, as the speakers make their way forward, amending motions have been posted and circulated for item 18 and item 33.
Thank you very much. So let me get Ms. McAllister. You have items 11, 29, 30, 32 in your general public comment. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, item 29 here, you want $2,500. This is the Florence Mills Apartments project, and you want $2,500,000. Now, I remember this project back in 2015. It's probably been around longer than that. And I'm just saying that this is ridiculous that we're going into 2019 and you still haven't done what you're supposed to do. There's 74 units you're supposed to be building for the homeless, and you haven't done anything. I've been seeing this name around for some years now. We want you to use that money to start building this housing. I'm not seeing anything being built with this HHH money, and I don't know whose pocket it's going into. Number 30, I'm very sad about this. You want to add a holiday for the Mount Washington preschool. It's a preschool and a child care center. So you're going to allow them to take off another day as a holiday, but then you're going to increase their tuition and fees. This is ridiculous. Now this is helping the community. This is for preschool children, okay? And the city does not fund them. These people accept children that can't even afford to go to their preschool. The preschool will pay for it. Why would you increase their fees? See, that's what all of this embezzlement is about. You got to have yours, so you increase fees wherever you can. I'm seeing it more and more. We have to get you Democrats out of office and get the Republicans in there. Number 32, this is another thing here. This shelter at 1920 West 3rd Street, it's a bridge housing facility. We don't need any more shelters. You're supposed to be building houses, okay? We don't need these shelters. Every time I look up, you got another shelter, and you're giving it a different name so people won't know. You call it a bridge housing. And this is for women and children. This doesn't make sense. Where is this money? We need an accounting firm in here, an independent accounting firm. You're not using this money like you're supposed to be. We have so many people living on the street. As a matter of fact, there are about 20,000 homeless black people on Skid Row, and just read recently that more children and mothers are on Skid Row than ever before in history. You guys, I'm telling you, we've got to do something with these Democrats. I believe you're the Communist Party. I really do, based on your behaviors and how you're using this money. We should not have to go through this to people. Every day I'm taking movies and videos of people laying on the street, and these illegal aliens and these Asians and Hispanics walking by laughing at them. And white people on the street too, mostly blacks and whites. So I appreciate what my president is doing. He's working on this executive order to eliminate this birthright where you can come in here as a legal alien and take over the country.
Topic.
Okay, give me my
Let's give her
1 minute.
1 minute for General.
I want the citizens of California to vote for Mr. John Cox as governor. He is a Republican, and he's a businessman, just like President Trump, and he will be working with President Trump. We do not want this Democrat Galvin Newsom in there. He's the lieutenant governor. He has done some things. If you go to San Francisco, you wouldn't know it. They said needles and people all over the street. It's worse than a third world country. We don't want him in there. Okay, California has the highest sales taxes, vehicle license fees, and all of that. And Mr. Cox is going to eliminate that. Mr. Huzar is being sued by his workers, a lady that he had an affair with, and he's been harassing her. Okay, we don't want his wife here. He want to use his workers now to help his wife get in there. You can't do that. She need to be at home keeping a man in the bed because he's sleeping with all these different women. We don't want his wife in this city council.
Okay, deal with things that the city can deal with, Ms. McAllister. Okay, your time's expired.
Don't vote for his wife.
Your time's expired. Let me get Mr. Previn. Mr. Previn, you have items 3, 11. We want to open up item 18 for you, 28, 30, 33, 34, and then your general. So go ahead, sir. Give him his minutes.
Thank you, sir. Today is quasi-recriminalized Cannabis Day, and I think that's a good effort to try to crack down on the illegal operations. I take note of the amendment to 18, where you're going to go for some sort of fee deferrals, and then you're going to have some administrative hearings. Now, an administrative hearing is often better than a legal hearing, but it depends who's doing the hearing. And, sir, your track record is not great. Today you're confirming liens for $23,000 off of number of items. There were several that you did upstairs at $26,000, and I'm concerned about the fair public hearing aspect of moving all those liens up into the sneaky chamber on 10th floor, which is why I'm moving on to item number 11, which is your SoCal Edison easement. These are great treasured partners who we can do a little deal with. And when you use ACE, which is the Administrative Citation Enforcement Program, with this cannabis group, I just want to make sure it's not yet another revenue plan, that we're not, it's all about how and what we're enforcing against. Now, I know you've got a system where you've got your Prop D buddies from the past and the new ones, many of whom are trying to get through the logjam to get all set up and licensed. I don't envy you. It's a lot of stuff, and it's not going great. But hopefully, this will be better. Maybe the Innovation and Performance Crew Commission that you're stacking would be helpful to give a little bit of a, advisory to Mr. Westall and Mr. Spiker, who's the kind of ringleader of the community, to try to get something that's working. I know you're all trying, and we do appreciate it. Now, I noticed that you're going to deny the protest and confirm a number of lighting districts, and I guess that's fine. But when you let's go to the general public comment, sir, because you've got a confusing agenda. May we do that?
Let's give him his 1 minute.
Yeah, I want to be sure, first of all, that people know that on Friday night at the Studio City Library, we're going to have another forum. We had a very well-attended, anybody on the ballot's welcome, sir. I'm trying to pull people together from both sides. I know today Mr. Cedillo made it seem like there's two sides, the good side, the bad side. I think there's two sides, and we have to come together. And so I'm hoping that people appreciate that. We've got a bunch of the incumbents in our neighborhood, Senator Hertzberg, Mr. Nazarian, having heard that there are other people came out, the challengers, they're coming out to set the record the way they want it set. And I just think it's a great thing for libraries and neighborhood councils to do, to foster discussion and debate, not throwing things at one another like when we put an item that's high conflict on the agenda. agenda, but just let people tell us what they want to do and make it better. We're trying in Studio City Friday night at the Studio City Branch Library from 5:30 to 9 p.m. Sir, you're of course welcome, although you're not on the ballot, but and we want to hear from everybody, including the public and Bloomfield. And I would just say, as I hang my head, how horrifying it is when violence goes off the rails. We should never condone.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Okay, let's get Mr. Herman. Items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then you have 18, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. And then you have your general.
Well, it's apparent that I know what I signed up on. But it's obvious that this administration has failed to serve the public in effective communication. Incidentally, the problem falls on the Democrats.
Get on a specific item, Mr. Herman.
Specific item of hate speech and hostility to the First Amendment regarding Christmas Eve as an additional day.
Mr. Herman, what item are you speaking
Mr. Herman, what? No, Mr. Herman, no. What item? We're trying to give you a break so you can speak. You haven't been on the agenda. No, you're not on the agenda. So stay on the items that I indicated to you that you've signed up on.
Read them over again. What are you talking
No,
about?
I'm not going to read them over
Then
again.
I'm reading right off the goddamn agenda.
No, Mr. Herman, you're not on the Mr. Herman, your time is expired. I warned you when we first got here in this morning. Mr. Herman, come on now. No, please, no. What we'll do is go to his general Mr. Herman, you're now disrupting. Now give him his general public comment.
These are the provoking situations that trigger, including my disability. Complaint against this fucking corrupted city under 42 U.S.C. 12102 and 28 CFR 36105. Send those fucking Jews back. Clarence Brandenburg versus Ohio. Bury the fucking white niggers, Democrats, who have buried my fucking country. We are the American people in protest of free speech. Fuck your Rule 77 and fuck your Brown Act violations. We will be here to defend the flag at every avenue and in every right. Stop suppressing free speech, Herman, and stop fucking with me, you fucking white little nigger with a penis the size of my pickle.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Thank you. Okay, let me get Ryan Reza. You have, Ryan, items. He gets 2 minutes. He has items 31 and 33, and then he gets another minute for general public comment. Mr. Herman, please be quiet. We let you speak. Now it's Ryan's turn.
Thank you, honorable council members. My name is Ryan Reza Farsai, and I'm one of the Trojans here to tell you the truth, Los Angeles. The truth is, these comedians, they work for the state of Israel and the King of Spain.
Okay, Ryan, you have items.
My
30
objective here is to talk about item number 31, which is about the health care. You guys have allocated less than $1 million towards health care. Let's look at this, Los Angeles. They spend $9.9 billion a year. That's $27.5 million a day, Mr. President. You're allocating $1 million of it today towards health. That's kind of unfortunate. That's what's happening in America today. I'm here to help out all veterans worldwide and in the United States. Our country makes people into killers. They send them out to war. They get to see people die.
Get back on the subject. You got.
I'm back on the subject number 33.
32 as well.
Number 33. I'm here for the Lion Club. The deaf, the blind, the Lion Club. I'm the White Lion. I don't care about the donkeys or the elephants. The veterans need help. They come here after serving our country, and we do nothing for them. I see them standing outside of our building every time I walk in here. It disappoints me. I know that's a veteran sitting right outside. I see him every time I come in here. It's very disappointing to me. What's happening here is the state of Israel has controlled all of these people, the donkeys
Back on topic, Ryan.
and the elephants.
Back on
They
topic.
don't let you spend your money properly. They want to spend your money the way they want it. They're in control. Don't forget. There's one way to remove them in office, and I'm going to tell you next in my next 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Give him his 1 minute.
I am the Prince of Los Angeles. I wrote a letter to Her Majesty, the Queen of England, on Saturday. It will be arriving within the next few days to royal palaces, the Kensington Palace, sir. Mr. Son, you are a derivative of Her Majesty. So am I. My family has been in part of the Majesty. I am Cyrus's lineage. My lineage's cylinder should not be sitting in the London Museum. I would like to request the State of Israel for my own property to start the Church of Good Health and Well-Being. I have a new initiative. We want to get rid of all these people and vote people that are under 50 years old. We need to clean up this mess. These people have messed it up for us a lot. I am Jewish, I'm Muslim, I'm a Nazi, I'm an American. Yo estoy americano, Los Angeles. And go Trojans. We're going up to Oregon State to take down those beavers. And I'm sorry for the Guggenheims for laying out. They want to get rid of that stadium. So they're making you lose.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'm
Thank
very
you.
disappointed with the
Thank you.
Guggenheims.
Your time is up. Thank you very much.
We never lay out.
Thank you. Okay, now let's vote on items 1 through 11. No, Ryan, this is your last warning. Please take a seat. Let's vote on items 1 through 11. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Now let's vote on item 33 as amended. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
We'll now vote on items 28 through 32. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Items 34 and 35. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And Mr. President, the items with ordinances will be held over 1 week to November 6th unless reconsidered later today with 12 members.
Thank you. And I also want to indicate, Mr. City Attorney and Madam Clerk, that concludes the multi-comment section in today's agenda. Okay, we're going to now take up item 18. Let's get Andre Humphrey, Hassan Mohammed. It's a Mr. or Mrs. Daniel. Yes, sir. Identify yourself, please.
Yeah, my name is Andre Humphrey, and I grew up in the community of Watts, and most definitely I know what the war on drugs looks like. And so I was really pleased when the city actually passed the social equity program, and the way we viewed this was our reparation. And I'm in favor of item 18.6 in terms of prohibiting the future EMMDs from relocating. But I understand about the future, but we also have some issues today where their current MMDs have already moved before this ordinance is going to be passed. And so I'd like for the council to take a look at those operators that are monopolizing the city of Los Angeles, which in essence is squeezing out those people who are truly social equity applicants. And so I would like, again, is to ensure that those small companies are not monopolizing Los Angeles and pushing us out our own community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm looking for Kaya Densler. Shakina Shakur. Yes, sir. Identify yourself.
Hassan Mohammed. Yes, sir. I'm just speaking in regards to the pre-ICO moratorium and allowing them to move where they go. And basically, I'm just in agreement with the brother that I don't see anything that is I don't see anything that's balancing it really, and it's just sending a bad message to the community. You say you want to help the problem, but I mean, you say you want to help the problem by, making some reparations for all the people whose lives who was destroyed by the war on drugs. But as far as our position, it's just business as usual, and the same things are going on. Other people coming into our community, they have a monopoly on the cannabis, and they're absorbing all of the wealth out of the community, and it just sends a bad message, especially when everybody's up here speaking about we're all one America and we're all one people and we should rise above racism, but yet my race still is a victim of business as usual, and that's all I wanted to say. And I just hope that you guys can dig deep and do a little bit better on sending your message to the people that really need it, that you care about our lives.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, identify yourself, please, and welcome.
I greet you all in peace. My name is Shekinah Shakur. I am a community mother, a community healer, and a servant of humanity. I come this morning in agreement with those who are standing for the moratorium to stop the priority given to existing sales entities of medical marijuana in our communities. I come from a long line of healers in our communities who have stood for the legalization of cannabis in all its profitable and medicinal forms. I come on behalf of all those in our communities who have in the past years been criminalized for the use of cannabis that fill our prisons. I have served those from birth to prison. I have watched my community, my village from Watts
Thank you. Your
to
time's
Compton
expired.
to Crenshaw.
Your time's expired.
Protect-
If I could have the next speaker, please. Next speaker. And identify yourself.
Greetings. I am Ignite with the Black Cannabis Business Coalition. I am here to ask that the moratorium remain in place, specifically in areas most affected by cannabis before it became an industry. Keeping the moratorium in place in the most affected areas will allow the social equity program a chance to repair the deliberate attack on the Black and brown communities, to disenfranchise, dismantle, discourage, and criminalize our community. Now, under the disguise of social equity, empty promises run rampant, shifting from criminalizing our communities, using cannabis to monopolize the now industry known as cannabis. If people do not want in their soul, at a human level, if people do not want to give those largely affected a chance to learn, grow, and rebuild their communities, you should make them. Fund the social equity program. Give Kat the help she needs to ensure this program is properly and efficiently executed. Give thanks.
Thank you. So is Kaya? Are you here? Please come forward. Kaya? I don't see her. Okay, so that closes that. I don't have your name. Come on up and give me your name. It did not come up on our screen, but identify yourself.
How you doing? I'm Mark McConey from the Black Cannabis Business Coalition. Thank you guys for having me. And I would like to address the concerns over the lack of attention being shown to the rights and interests of social equity candidates. There is currently no measure set in place that will protect social equity candidates' interests from being overrun by that of pre-ICO license holders' interests. In particular, pre-ICO's ability to move their locations into areas best suited, in some cases already being leased by social equity candidates, waiting on their license process to begin. We would ask that you consider implementing measures that would not only still allow pre-ICOs to relocate to more desired locations, but only after that area has been cleared of interest and use by social equity candidates, or areas that is best served by social equity candidates. In other words, pre-ICOs should not be able to move over social equity candidates.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that ends public comment on this subject. Let us prepare to vote on item 18. Let's open the roll. As we vote on 18 as amended, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Thank you. Now I'd like to kick it over to Ms. Rodriguez on item 19.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, item 19 is a response to the proliferation of illegal cannabis operation retail sites that many of us have been experiencing, and particularly in the 7th District. And I want to thank the Department of Cannabis Regulation, the Department of Water and Power, and LAPD for working collaboratively for us to identify a streamlined, common sense, and expedient solution so that we can help encourage the legal operations. This council has done so much work to establish the guidelines and protocols in which many of these dispensaries could operate. Unfortunately, not having that enforcement arm has undermined that process in many ways. And so this collaborative response is one that I believe is going to be very effective in helping to assure that when we cut down the power for these illegal operators, that they will cease to continue to operate. And I want to thank the Rules Committee for helping to expedite this process and getting this through. But really, again, my deepest thanks to the Department of Cannabis Regulation, LAPD, and the Department of Water and Power that we can deliver common sense solutions in an expedient fashion, utilizing existing resources so that we do not have to wait, our communities do not have to wait, and our legal operators don't have to wait for us to find solutions and making sure that we are shutting down the illegal operators. And I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
So we'll take general public comment. Could we have Don, the Cookie Garza, come on up? And Frederick Silks will follow, and Hassan Mohammed will follow after that.
Good day, council members. I haven't been here in a while, but I'm here on a good note. Today, I want to thank a friend of mine, a brother of mine on the city council who stood by me when I was in a dark place. He didn't know this at the time, but when I requested him and Andy Bales and Herbert Smith from the missions in Skid Row to help me purchase boots to deploy with Team Rubicon to assist in disaster response, Gil Cedillo responded. I almost died. You saved my life, along with Team Rubicon, which is the disaster response, predominantly filled with veterans, and helps transition veterans, and it gives us a sense of purpose. And I've been to Puerto Rico, Houston. I've rebuilt houses in Houston. I just came back from North Carolina. Gil, here's a shirt for you, for me and Team Rubicon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Could we have Frederick Silic? I apologize. If we could hold for a second, Councilman Cedillo?
Yeah, just let me say I'm very flattered by Don Garza's expression, but you should know Don Garza is an extremely generous man, a man who will give all that he has, limited resources, and yet because of his leadership, his charisma, his commitment, I've seen him organize Thanksgiving giveaways, turkey giveaways, toy giveaways. He's going around the country working with Team Rubicon, helping people in disasters. He is truly a great angel, and he's the type of person and type of leader that this city needs and this nation needs at this very moment. So, Don, let me tell you that I'm very flattered, but I love you very much, and I appreciate your friendship and your leadership. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Okay, Frederick. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. There is no agenda here, right? I can say anything I want, basically?
Long as the city has some direct or indirect relationship with it.
Oh, well, I think the city has a direct relationship to the violence that goes on. Particularly, I didn't know about this deal this morning, or I didn't know about the shooting in Pittsburgh of the Jewish, and that's very regrettable. But I think this is getting to be a very common thing in our society. We seem to forget things. They say we should never forget the 9/11, and I think that's been forgotten. I don't think we're examining our society very well. I don't think we're examining the problems we have. We are not addressing them as adults. I don't believe we have adult mentality in our society. I believe we have
That's your time, sir. Thanks for coming down. Okay, I believe we've called on everybody. Did we miss anybody? Okay, let's move on to items, I believe 20 and 22. So that closes general public. Mr. Krikorian, did you want us to take up items, I believe 20 and 22 at this time?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. I did have a couple questions on these, and if we could start with item number 20. It is news to me that it is a criminal offense to be an employee of an illegal cannabis business. And I'd like to understand a little bit better, maybe from the city attorney or from staff, what is it that these employees are being cited with if they're not participants in the business? If they're owners of the business, I understand. If they're conducting the illegal operation, I understand. But an employee, I'd like to understand a little bit better how they're being criminally charged now, or whether they are.
Let's call up staff that might be able to shed some light on your concerns.
Good morning, council members. David Michelson, Chief Assistant City Attorney with the City Attorney's Office. With me is Alex Friedman, and of course, you all know Kat Packer with Department of Cannabis Regulation. In answer to your question, Councilmember Krikorian, the Municipal Code, Section 104.15, which was adopted by the council earlier this year, providing the regulatory scheme for commercial cannabis activities in the city, included very specific sanctions if someone was involved in the unlicensed business activity dealing with cannabis. And the City Council adopted in this section I just mentioned that it is unlawful and a violation of the Muni Code and potentially subject to misdemeanor sanctions, whether you're a landlord, whether you're the business owner, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're an employee. Any one of these individuals who are involved in the unlicensed cannabis commercial activity in the city could be subject to that sanction.
So that's being charged as a misdemeanor?
Potentially. LAPD does the enforcement up front and potentially presents cases to our criminal branch, to our prosecutors for consideration for filing for misdemeanors. That would be correct.
And does the existing ordinance differentiate between, say, the equity owner of the business and the volunteer who's helping out, or the custodian who's sweeping up after hours? I mean, is there some distinction drawn there?
It does not. I'm not so sure a custodian sweeping up after hours might fall into the sweep. Our criminal branch would have to answer that question. But someone who's working at the counter and involved with the actual, for instance, sales transaction of unlicensed cannabis or cannabis in an unlicensed business situation would be subject to the same provision as if the landlord or the owner.
Is there a requirement that the employee have actual knowledge that the business is in fact illegal?
I believe in order to charge a criminal offense, there has to be, mens rea have to be mental knowledge as to what you're doing violates the law, but I can't speak directly to that. We'd have to have our prosecutor speak to that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess where I'm going with this is, I think the intention of the motion is one that I agree with, which is, let's not bring the hammer down on somebody who's just trying to go to work in the morning and, not really doing not really the organizer or the principal, I guess, of the illegal operation. But the flip side of that is, I don't want to minimize potential punishments for those principals. So I draw a differentiation there between somebody who opens up a business illegally with their money, knowing violation of the law, and they're operating an illegal business, from the person who, is getting minimum wage or whatever to, hang out there and sell product across the counter. To me, there's a differentiation there. So how can we get to a point where we're addressing the potential harsh penalty for the employee while still retaining our full quiver of arrows to use against the person who's intentionally a principal of an illegal business?
David Michelson again. The motion lays out that challenge, I think, for both LAPD, for our office, and potentially other offices or departments involved in the issue to see if an ordinance could be crafted that would provide as an additional tool for law enforcement an administrative citation, so not a criminal sanction, but administrative citation for those who might be viewed as employees working at the counter versus someone who might be the owner or a landlord.
Okay.
It might be a difficult, I quickly add, for law enforcement sometimes to distinguish between whether someone's at the counter has an ownership interest or doesn't have an ownership interest in this industry. So it's not as easy as it may seem on first blush, but I think and we appreciate the challenge.
Okay. So you'll take those factors into account in drafting the ordinance, and that'll come back for us for further consideration of whether the drafted ordinance, in fact, draws that differentiation.
Right. That'll
Okay.
be, as I said, the direction from council if this motion is adopted here today, and we'll certainly do our best working with our colleagues at LAPD and elsewhere.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I had the exact same suggestion as you just made when I pressed my button, which is that you make an administrative citation for employees and volunteers. And I don't know that I don't know the legalistics of this, whether at the time you serve them you need to know what the category is that they come under, or if you can charge them for that at a later point or differentiate. And how that might be done should probably be part of the ordinance, because I'm sure we'll come across that issue. But I agree, it seems ridiculously unfair for a minor employee behind the counter or sorting through their inventory to be as responsible as an actual business owner or partner that has full knowledge and financial skin in that game. So I would ask that you consider that as well.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Great. Listening to my colleagues maybe think of a question kind of going in the other direction of I mean, that's being the net is too narrow, but is there a way to broaden this net to include the advertisers like Weed Maps and other folks? I mean, I look on, someone just showed me, my staff showed me an advertisement for an illegal shop that's in the district, that's open, that's advertising, it's open till midnight, all these, advertising a bunch of other things, products that look like they could be for kids. But they're not caught up in this, and yet they seem even more complicit than the employee. Is there any way that this could be tweaked so that at the very least we could get an A citation or something to cover those folks who are enabling or partnering through the advertising with the illegal shops?
David Michelson again with City Attorney's Office. We'd be pleased to look at that if that's included as an amendment maybe to this motion. That is going to have its own set of challenges dealing with the First Amendment and trying to regulate that type of activity. Often it's not just confined within the city of Los Angeles. It can easily spill over into other jurisdictions. And again, the overlay being the First Amendment does present challenges in that regard.
I recognize it's extremely challenging, but if it would offer it as a friendly amendment to look into that.
Mr. Kretz, you're back.
Oh, I just wanted to add on that I remember seeing illegal advertising on corporate billboards as well. which is kind of surprising. I suspect we should include that if we can find a way, although I also suspect if we interact with those billboard companies and make the point that they're advertising illegally, we probably could, in all likelihood, have that same effect.
Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't know if you wanted to take up both of these matters
Well,
together.
I think we'll just do one at a time. So let's vote on this one, then we'll bring up.
Okay,
then
well,
okay.
just on this one,
Yeah,
sir, just
go
in
ahead.
response to the point that Mr. Kretz and Mr. Blumenfield made, I think we can anticipate more such advertising on billboards across the city of Los Angeles. And I will just note that if we ever adopt a digital billboard ordinance that is not limited to publicly owned properties by the city, then we will have no ability to control the content of those, and we'll be seeing a lot more of those. Whereas if digital billboards are on city-owned property alone, we will have the ability to regulate the types of advertising. So just wanted to make that point, not necessarily directly related to what we're talking about, but it is important to note. So,
Thank you. Mr. Harris Dawson, did you want to jump in here?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues that have engaged in this conversation, one that we've been at for a while, and thank you, staff, for helping us work to get to this point. I just wanted to point out some of the things we learned in committee, which I think are important to the conversation. As of this moment, what's happening is, I think it's well over 400 people who work in cannabis shops have been arrested and charged. That's what's happening. And the people who are profiting from it, the people who have businesses, the people who are collecting rent, in full knowledge that an illegal business is being operated on their property, collecting rent every month, at this moment, none of those people have been sanctioned. And so this is the exact opposite of what we said we were going to do. If we're going to end the war on drugs and stop arresting kids for dealing in drugs, then we got to do that. And when you arrest store clerks and custodians and security guards and all that, that's essentially what you're doing. You're just changing the place you arrested in that. Now you're not arresting him in an alley, you're arresting him in a store. And you're leaving the big money makers to get off scot-free. And so this is what we're trying to achieve here. I think the tweaks that have been suggested are good, especially around advertising. But again, we just got to remember, we're pushing against the trend that we've had for now 2 generations. And so at every step, we've got to be vigilant and make sure we're doing, in fact, what we intend to do. Thank you.
Council members, David Michelson, City Attorney, if I could just briefly respond. Although I cannot speak on behalf of our criminal branch, our prosecutors, I can say, and I believe this is accurate, that to date, over 500 individual defendants have had criminal charges filed against them for being involved in the unlicensed cannabis commercial activity. Many of them are landlords, many of them are business owners, but many of them are also employees. That is true. There's just percentage-wise can be more employees many times when enforcement takes place. But I want to make clear, and we're happy to provide statistics, there have been quite a few landlords, business owners, and employees that have been caught in the sweep of the ordinance the council adopted earlier this year.
Okay, let's do this. Madam Clerk, let's vote on 20 alone.
As amended with Mr. Blumenfield's motion?
Yes.
And a second for his motion?
I'm assuming the chair, Mr. Harris Dawson, is comfortable with that. Okay, so we're voting on 20. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Krikorian, we're now going to take up 22.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Bless you, Mr. Kretz. So this sort of reopens a discussion that we've had for a while about where do you put the most appropriate enforcement activity among our various departments that are involved in law enforcement. And I guess the couple of points I wanted to make on this is that building and safety is uniquely qualified, of course, to enforce violations around the building code and building inspections and so on. But I'm really concerned about mission creep for DBS and having more enforcement responsibility be put on building and safety professionals, whereas my personal thought on this is I think it would be more appropriate to staff up Ms. Packer's department with people who are professionals in doing that, rather than expecting DBS or LAPD or others to try to do that. Each of those departments has a role, but it shouldn't be the comprehensive role. And so I'm concerned when we talk about other duties and responsibilities and so on falling on DBS. Now, I know this is just a report back at this point, and I would ask that when it does come back, I'd ask that we have the CAO report back on the comprehensive enforcement strategy of all of our departments so that we can make some intelligent decisions about budgeting, about where the classifications should be housed, and how their responsibilities are divided up, rather than doing it piecemeal. Have a full report about all of the enforcement activities so that we can have a more thorough discussion about that. So that's thought number one, if that's acceptable to Mr. Harris Dawson. And then the second point I wanted to make, and maybe there's a legal reason for this, but the report refers to non-criminal enforcement of illegal cannabis businesses. And if building and safety is going to be involved in enforcement, they should be involved in enforcement of legal and illegal cannabis businesses. Legal cannabis businesses could be in violation of the law every bit as much as an illegal cannabis. So I think if we're going to have enforcement, it shouldn't be selective enforcement that we target only at the illegal businesses and then leave out the ones who are licensed that still require enforcement directed at them as well to ensure that they're in compliance. I suspect that distinction wasn't intended by this, but when we do get the report back, I think we should keep that in mind as well, that the legal licensed places are just as susceptible to a full panoply of enforcement as the illegal businesses.
This is Dave Michelson again. I'd like to speak to that briefly. I think a CIO report back that comprehensively addresses everything that Councilmember Krikorian mentioned certainly would be helpful. And one of the things I think that report will remind all of us is that DCR, Department of Cannabis Regulation, is currently as established and empowered. They're not involved with enforcement. They are involved with the licensing. They're involved in the regulatory process. If a cannabis business gets a license from DCR and violates that license, that is DCR's job to deal with that, potentially revoking that license. But when we're dealing with unlicensed cannabis businesses, that falls on the shoulders of law enforcement currently, which is LAPD, who presents cases typically for prosecution to our office, to our prosecutors. Potentially building and safety could play a role depending how this motion were to go forth. And ultimately down the line, though, DCR could take on law enforcement as part of its operation, a little bit like building and safety does. But that is something that could be on the horizon as well that the CAO's report could speak to.
Okay. Well, we can have a more comprehensive discussion when we get that full report back. But I think consistency in the application of the law across all businesses is important, and dividing the authority for that up among multiple departments may get in the way of consistency of enforcement. So, but I don't know. We'll see when we get the report back and make a judgment based on that. So that was my only thought, and if that's acceptable to Mr. Harris Dawson, I'm good,
Okay.
Mr. President.
All right, so it appears that it is. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on this item. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, what's before this body?
Mr. President, if we could reconsider the ordinances for items 1 through 5 and item 11.
Okay, so let us, we do not have to vote on reconsideration. We can just vote on, or do we? So we'll do reconsideration on those items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we'll actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, what's before this body?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They're posted, they're referred. Announcements, members, announcements. If we could all rise for adjourning motions. If we could all rise and please be quiet for adjourning motions, I'd like to recognize Mr. Harris Dawson.
So much, Mr. Chair and colleagues. It is with a great deal of sadness that I request that we adjourn in the memory of a young community member and activist from the 8th District, Ms. Denise Boone. She's the founder of Our Little People Child Care, an organization that provided child care in the Hyde Park neighborhood and early childhood development and school readiness. Ms. Boone passed away after a long and painful fight with ovarian cancer on October 28th at the age of 43 years old. She passionately cared about the condition of local businesses in the Hyde Park neighborhood and was an active business person herself, a great exemplar of the entrepreneurial spirit that is so common in our community at a very young age, deciding that there wasn't adequate child care available in the neighborhood and putting her work clothes on and got about the business of building that child care facility. When I first set out to run for council, she had all the parents of her child care center come after school one day so we could meet them and talk to them. And so I got to tour the facility back then. And then shortly after that time period, she was stricken with cancer. Her fight against cancer, she did like she did everything else. She took it on full throttle. She fought as hard as she could and revealed herself as a champion of the human spirit. She is survived by her children, her own children, as well as the children that she cared for in the child care center. She will be very, very missed in our community. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Harris Dawson. I'm looking left. I don't see any more to my left. I'm looking to right. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Lawrence Gilhooly, who was born on April 7th, 1928, and just celebrated his 90th birthday with his family in Florida. His daughter is my Chief of Staff, Joan Pellico. On October 6th, with his children by his side, he spread his wings and departed for heaven to meet up with his wife, Nancy Bazari Gilhooly, who had passed away 17 years ago. Larry was born and bred in New York City and enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 1945, where 4 years on oil tankers took him to more ports in the world than he could remember. He joined the United Nations Secretariat in 1952 and was assigned to the Security and Safety Section for 5 years. In 1957, Larry transferred to the UN Postal Administration, where he remained for 11 years in a variety of different posts. He was thoroughly acquainted with the United Nations postage stamps, and after supervising the mint order section, he became the supervisor of the sales counter. In 1968, he moved to the Commercial Management Service, where for the following 8 years, he combined administrative work with the handling of the United Nations Medal Program. He then became the head of the Overseas Sales Unit, which took care of the needs of 131 agencies in 99 countries. After retiring, Larry worked with special needs adults for a few years, which brought him great joy. To this day, they still know all his jokes and catchy sayings. He then moved to Florida, where he has lived for the past 15 years. And I know Joan told me that when she was in Florida in his neighborhood to deal with some of the arrangements, that people would come up to her and talk to her about how he had helped one or another of them, like a parent who couldn't afford to take care of their kid's toothache, and he paid for their dental work. And he wasn't a wealthy guy by any means. He was just somebody that was very generous to his friends and neighbors. Larry leaves behind his 3 children, 3 grandchildren as well, nieces and nephews, and so many people who depended on him for a good laugh and his positive, joyous spirit. He also left behind his very best friend, Jessie, who was his 11-year-old Labrador. Joan and her family made sure that Jessie found a home, and the day after her father was buried, Jessie found his new family. He taught his children to be kind to all, that no one is better than anyone else, to take care of those who can't take care of themselves, to be selfless, to have strong faith, to be positive, and try to see the bright light and the bright side to everything, to know that God is always good, and to love everyone and everything. And Joan and her family will continue to celebrate his life.
Well said. Any other adjournments? To my right, I don't see any. Members, this council meeting is adjourned.
What I enjoy most is being able to fabricate and create and produce items literally from just a concept or an idea that's placed on a piece of paper or even an image that you see on a screen. American Furniture Manufacturer supplies furniture for a lot of big name hotels in the Los Angeles market and all throughout California. We focus mainly on commercial clients, and to make it commercial, it needs to be very, very durable, very high quality. My father, Harry, started this company in 2004. I personally joined the company in 2008. As vice president, my day-to-day tasks include everything that you need to do to run a business, reviewing design, scheduling and coordinating logistics, as well as accounting and anything else you can think of. Most of the things that I learned and our success now has been through experience and on-the-job experience. I would say what makes AFM Contract unique is the fact that we're very punctual, very transparent, and cost-conscientious to the client. American Furniture Manufacturer would have 65 employees in California altogether. Internationally, in Indonesia and in China, where we also have factories, those combined can range up to the thousands. We mainly ship through the Port of LA. Per month, approximately, we import about 30 to 40 containers. We were drawn to Pomona, California because the property in this area was quite large and financially obtainable. My wife and I enjoy cooking in our spare time. When you're cooking, you can only focus on cooking. You get some sort of like meditation or peace through that. I would say there's nothing I dislike about my job. As challenging or as tough as the day would get, whenever you go through these challenges, you can only grow and learn from it. I find great gratification in working for a family business. At the end of the day, any success or any growth that you have is towards the growth and success for your family, which is also in turn helping out the community and creating job opportunities for new employees. That's where I get gratification.
Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an Iyengar yoga teacher here in Los Angeles, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel. Namaste.
In LA this week,
I'm Anna Marco, sitting at Justice Ruth Ginsburg's desk. Well, not the real one, but you'll get to do this and more at the notorious RBG exhibit at the Skirball Center. That story coming up.
The upcoming midterm elections are coming up soon. How voting by mail has become much easier. The story next.
The expected vacancy of an LA City Council district seat in the San Fernando Valley has constituents there wondering what will happen next. A special election could be one option. I'm Gil Reyes with a story next.
Hey everyone, I'm Yana Kay. Here's what's happening in LA this week. The Great Shakeout may have started in California, but the quake preparedness event has now spread around the world. Here in LA, this year's Shakeout comes with a new announcement and an early warning system demo. Anna Marcos has more.
Yep, no better way to get the message across of drop, cover, and hold on than a flash mob of kids showing what to do when a quake hits. This was the Great Shakeout's annual earthquake preparedness event at LA City Hall, and it looks like some viewers got the message.
If there's an earthquake, you have to do it. It's good to do it in dance because you can show other people to do that to be safe.
But the Shakeout Mobile, the emergency kits, and this map showing the tangled knot of California's earthquake faults were only the first course in this earthquake preparedness feast. Over at the City Hall Rotunda, Mayor Eric Garcetti and earthquake experts renewed their commitment to make LA the most earthquake-ready city it can be.
We know that the next earthquake will hit.
The goal is to ensure that a disaster does not become a catastrophe.
And this year, LA is introducing its own early warning system, which includes a Shake Alert LA app, in which people get warned early about an earthquake through their phones.
And over the next several months, the smartphone-based application will be tested with city employees ahead of a public release at the end of the year.
City leaders then showed off another component of their early warning alert system with help from the children. The city has also teamed up with the U.S. Geological Survey and our own information technology agency to program early warning alerts on City Hall elevators, at port, and in firehouses.
There's sensors in the ground up and down the coast of the United States, and these sensors detect an earthquake as it begins. And we're able to send a signal, in this case to a public announcement system, but soon to your cell phone, that will let you know an earthquake's coming and how strong that earthquake will be where you're at.
You can use it to stop trains so they don't derail, to move elevators to the nearest floor so you don't get trapped.
Shakeout started in California in 2008 as a one-time event, but then people from other places said, hey, we want to do this too.
60 million people worldwide now take part in the Great Shakeout, practicing drop, cover, and hold on. But it's just as important to retrofit and make your home quake-proof, create a family disaster plan, have emergency supplies, and plan ahead for how you will recover.
For more information on earthquake preparedness, visit readyla.org or shakeout.org. Well, speaking of shakeups, Valley Council member Mitchell Englander has decided to step down from office with 2 years left in his term. Gil Reyes reports on what the city's options are for keeping CD 12 represented.
Valley Councilman Mitchell Englander's surprise announcement that he'll be stepping down at year's end has some 818 residents worried. How soon can folks in Northridge, Granada Hills, and Chatsworth have a person they selected on the city council again? City Clerk Holly Walcott explains the options. One allows the city council to choose a full voting member to represent the district through December 2020. That's when Englander's term would have ended had he stayed. Or we could have the people choose a successor in a special election as early as next year.
I would urge everybody in Council District 12 to write a letter or send an email to the City Council in care of the City Clerk expressing what they want to happen. I think the reason a special election is usually called is for that very reason, is so that people have the representation that they've chosen.
Now, the last time something like this happened was back in 2016, when then 7th District Councilman Felipe Fuentes bailed to become a lobbyist. For 10 months, LA City Council President Herb Wesson filled in as caretaker of that area until a new council member was elected and sworn in.
But while that vacancy lasted 10 months, this Valley vacancy could last 2 years unless there's a special election. If it happens, the city clerk has tips for residents wanting to run.
Honestly, go door to door. Start talking to people. Know who your constituents are. Know what they want. Know what's important to your community. Attend neighborhood council meetings.
You can stay up to date on this matter and more on Twitter. Check out at LA City Clerk. As the city decides on Englander's replacement, we'll be voting on a whole bunch of other issues come Election Day. And if you vote by mail, it's now easier than ever thanks to a new system and a new look.
Have you opened your vote by mail ballot yet? It looks different this time. And as we told folks in downtown's Arts District, it's simpler.
As long as it's easy for me to understand what I'm voting on, that's all that matters.
Local officials say voting by mail has never been easier. In the past, you had the list of candidates on one guide and then their corresponding numbers with the ovals you needed to fill in on the other. This time around, everything is consolidated into one ballot.
Here's a fun example of what we mean. See? Candidates and ovals together.
Rather than trying to match up numbers. Now it is multiple pages. You could receive 3 pages, you could receive 7 pages, and it's both sides. So if you have multiple voters in your household, please don't mix up the pages.
LA City Clerk Holly Walcott reminds us Election Day is Tuesday, November 6th. Several congressional contests that could flip Congress are up for grabs. Also on the line is the governorship, a measure aimed at expanding rent control, and a possible repeal of the gas tax.
That should not be repealed. I feel very strongly about that. It's already been passed. Gas is already too cheap here, and I think that we should absolutely be paying for this to subsidize our road repair.
And that could impact people's quality of life, and that's why you need to show up and vote.
Either in person, online, or by mail. By the way, postage for LA voters is free.
You know what else will be free? Rides on Metro on Election Day. That's right, free fares on buses and trains Tuesday, November 6th to help make sure you cast your vote. Well, they've dedicated their lives to serving others. Now they're getting the recognition they deserve. Amy Liu introduces us to Sheroes.
Judy Jackson is an assistant principal in the inner city. She works with children who may come from disadvantaged or broken families, but she's always there as someone they can count on.
When I see kids who come to school who don't have the clothing, they need that someone in their lives just to change them, to ensure them you too can make it. When they told me I was going to be a Shero, I cried.
Jackson is one of 15 Sheroes honored at the 11th Annual Awards at the Radisson Hotel in downtown. Coworkers, neighbors, and friends nominated the women. The event is put on by Council Member Curran Price.
Well, we're excited to celebrate women in our community who are really making a difference. We've decided long ago to celebrate not only those who are famous and those who get a lot of publicity, but those unsung heroes and sheroes as well.
Another Shero, Evelyn Gomez Villaflor, teaches at Los Angeles Trade Tech College and works in child development. She hopes to be a role model to inspire her students to achieve an education, just like she did.
The most rewarding thing about my job is that students can see that I come from the same place that they come from, and that they can see that if I was able to do it, because I come from a very impoverished community. I'm an immigrant myself, and that I didn't even learn English until I was 12 years old, and that for them to see that, like they say, if she did it, I can do it. I was very surprised and humbled to be representing our college, our community, and not only that, our Latina women.
A surprise for a group of women who go above and beyond. It's their time to shine.
Councilmember Price hopes that the event will inspire others to become Sheroes in their own community. Well, she's the OG Shero. As an Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has one of the greatest legal minds in our generation. But lately, she's become a popular icon and meme as well. Here's more on the notorious RBG exhibit.
After 25 years on the bench, how does one go from heavyweight liberal Supreme Court justice to popular rapper meme on the internet? Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, now better known as Notorious RBG, has been compared to the late rapper Notorious B.I.G. for her ferocious dissenting opinions on the bench. It's all part of the Notorious RBG exhibit at Skirball Center.
The majority of the Supreme Court gutted a major provision of the Voting Rights Act under a theory that racism no longer mattered and was over. Justice Ginsburg dissented in that opinion. I created this tribute to her. I think she's really worked so hard her entire career to see a world that is more equal, that is more just.
The Notorious RBG meme went viral, which led to a book by its two authors and then the exhibit. Here, viewers get a close-up look at how Ginsburg grew up, at her gnarly workout regimen, 20 push-ups at a time, at her struggle to finish law school and get a job at a time when women weren't hired for legal work, and her fight for women's rights and civil rights both during and before her Supreme Court nomination.
Before Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the co-founder of the ACLU Women's Rights Project and brought cases to the Supreme Court, it was completely legal for the federal government to discriminate against women. And by the time she was done, the Constitution considered women as equal people.
The exhibit is full of immersive environments like this one, where you can actually try on a robe similar to what Justice Ginsburg would wear. And she has a signature move. She wears these jabots or collars, depending on whether she has a dissenting or a majority opinion. And this is her dissent collar. And voila, you too can become a Supreme Court justice for a moment.
It looks very different than your traditional history exhibition because we encourage you to touch and play and explore, and in some cases, physically try on things.
And tributes, so many tributes to Notorious RBG, even those that come from the skin of people's cheeks.
It's a tribute to the justice made with my own skin, my own cheek skin that I source from the inside of my mouth based on nervous cheek biting habit. And I make an image with the skin pigmented with tattoo inks.
As for her private life, she had a lifelong love affair with her husband, Marty, who died in 2010.
They were partners in life. He wanted Ruth to be able to pursue her dreams and her goals.
And Ginsburg has done just that as she continues to fight for equal rights for everyone. As for her rapper, Notorious RBG rep, she's grown to laugh and like it.
The exhibit will be at Skirball Center until March of 2019. Well, it was a stand against sexual harassment and assault as hundreds took to the streets in downtown LA, demanding respect for all women, no matter what kinds of clothes they wear.
Women should not be afraid to walk down the street half naked and be harassed by men, or for people to think that we want it.
I'm here to support all the women, their bodies. They can do whatever they want with them. Nobody can tell them what to do.
This is Slut Walk Day, so this is the day that we can be free, dress up a little bit sexy, and don't judge people how they're dressed or how they look or how skinny or fat you are. We need to stop this.
So we're here to empower women, stand for what's right, and go sluts.
I'm here for anti-shaming for trans women, and the anti-culture against rape here is not good enough.
We want to support other women. We want to support anybody who's been a victim of sexual assault. We want to support and bring positivity to their lives, that we're marching for hope that things will change. Why would it ever be your fault? If you say no, if you cannot say no, it's not your fault. It is whoever raped you's fault.
They need to learn consent because it hurts people when you don't. You need consent. A yes is a yes. No means no. There are people that love you and believe you, and the world is changing. Have hope. We have a slut walk. We have people organizing. We have people protesting. Things are changing for you. And vote. That will get people out of office who believe in silencing us. Vote.
Activist and feminist Amber Rose started the annual walk, which is now in its 4th year. Over at La Plaza, Angelinos came together for another common cause, celebrating and mourning loved ones who are no longer with us. El Velorio at La Plaza de la Raza was all about community and giving back.
Ouch! That foot in the fire has got to hurt. Oh, wait, these people are all supposed to be dead, or at least dressed up like it anyway, so maybe it doesn't hurt. As the Day of the Dead holiday descends on Angelinos, this El Velorio event helps honor those who have passed on.
In English, it's the wake, so it's a part of the whole death process, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to call it El Velorio.
Day of the Dead is about a month-long celebration of life and death and family and friends, and you know, I'm a person that respects both life and death. I actually have it tattooed on my chest.
The Mexican-American celebration honors all dead loved ones, but at least on this night, it focuses on artists and musicians like dead mariachis.
And this is a representation of some of the musicians that have passed, and also some of the battles that we fought to get where we're at.
I personally had a daughter and a son that passed away, so kind of just in memory of them.
I always celebrate their lives. Always, every day.
The dead here apparently come in all shapes, sizes, and forms of expression, from scary and tense to the downright nice, sweet, and friendly. Or we leave this one for you to decide.
A Catrina is a woman from the Day of the Dead, and most commonly they're all dolled up. They are in gorgeous gowns, gorgeous makeup, and usually as we see them, they're skeletons.
My makeup represents, more a living culture that is still going on here in Los Angeles, a culture so beautiful that needs to become bigger, and that not many are really knowing of it.
Kind of like Halloween, but not really.
We bring photos of our deceased, and it's a day to honor them. It's very different from Halloween. Halloween is just, in my opinion, is just a costume party.
Costume party or not, it's a chance to celebrate life and death and art, whether you're ghoulish, happy, beautiful, or sad. And you have 30 days to do it.
El Velorio helped raise funds for La Plaza de la Raza Cultural Center. Turning now to another cultural event, crowds came to Pershing Square to celebrate Oktoberfest. Here in LA, we of course change it up a bit by mixing some local brews with traditional German ones.
I've been to Munich, Germany to Oktoberfest 3 times, and I always wondered why LA didn't have one, an outdoor, really outdoor Oktoberfest. And so 3 years ago, I embarked on putting it together. This is our 3rd year, and it's been successful. People have responded well to it. I think it's a cultural event more than anything, because besides beer, you get to enjoy food from Germany, clothing from Germany, music from Germany. That's pretty fantastic.
The first Oktoberfest in downtown LA took place in 2016. Well, it's become a beloved annual tradition of music, art, and community. Rasha Goel takes us down by the LA River to the Frogtown Art Walk.
Art, food, entertainment, and much more along the LA River in Elysian Valley. It's the 11th annual Frogtown Art Walk, a community festival that brings artists, businesses, and residents together. Frogtown Art Walk is held every other year. Residents say they enjoy being able to come out and celebrate the creativity in the neighborhood.
I'm very happy because it's gonna make
get people out and be more cultural, and we meet the neighbors and see people.
Residents get to connect with nature and art, while artists are excited to share their work.
Frogtown's going through a lot of changes and interesting ones. I think we're in a very interesting point in time where many communities are sort of merging here.
The name Frogtown comes from the frogs that used to emerge from the grassy banks, and it was later adopted by local gangs to keep most locals and artists away. But things have changed over the past few years, where now a thriving creative community has blossomed.
I would have never thought it would have been like this. Never would have thought. 20, 30 years ago, growing up, this was all commercial business, and we never thought it would come down to gentrification. It's a lot different than it was.
Night installations also illuminated the streets. Frogtown has become a place for many artists where they are able to fuel their creative process.
As you just saw, free pedicabs were offered along the LA River path during the event. A new care center for people experiencing homelessness. The LADWP gets the valley ready for an earthquake, and a grant helps improve access to the LA River from Studio City. All these stories in City Beat. Mayor Eric Garcetti joined Councilmember Gil Cedillo and other state and local officials for the grand opening of the Pico Union Recuperative Care Center, where homeless Angelinos can heal after being discharged from the hospital and be connected to housing resources and social services. Amenities include semi-private rooms, an informal clothing closet where residents can access donated clothing and accessories, regular visiting hours, and a community garden for neighbor and client use.
Thank you all so much for making this day possible. We will end homelessness in LA.
City leaders visited the construction site of the longest earthquake-resistant pipeline project in the nation. The project, located in the San Fernando Valley, is adding 4 miles of LADWP pipe that transports water over the San Fernando Fault in Sylmar to residents in the Sunland-Tahunga area of the valley. The project is part of LADWP's commitment to meet the mayor's goal to install a total of 14 miles of earthquake-resistant iron pipeline by 2020. City and state officials also celebrated $150,000 in new funding to revitalize the Studio City Greenway along the LA River. The grant from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and awarded to the City of Los Angeles will go toward improving bike and pedestrian access points, restoring the landscaping, and enhancing public health and safety along the Greenway from Whitsett Avenue to Laurel Canyon Boulevard. It's made up of a unique list of ingredients like chocolate, cinnamon, chilies, and more, creating a rich, intense flavor. It's mole, a Mexican sauce that simmers in tradition.
Here we are at the Feria de los Moles in Grant Park in downtown Los Angeles. This is the 11th annual feria that we have.
The mole came about back in the Oaxaca when we wanted to make a dish that combined our ingredients. And during the colonization period, as we started doing trade and everything, we gained more products.
It goes very well with just about anything. I've had it for many years, and I enjoy it to this day.
11 years ago, these small group of people came to my office from Puebla. They said they wanted to start a Feria de los Moles so that people in Los Angeles could taste the great mole from that was founded or first created in the city of Puebla, Mexico. And here we are 11 years later. It has become one of the largest outdoor food festivals in the United States. But I think what's made it so popular is that not only is mole delicious, it's a sauce that's created with different ingredients like chocolate and cinnamon and all kinds of great stuff. But also it's so popular because people want to come together and simply celebrate the culture. And this is a great example of what happens when people in Los Angeles are working with the Mexican government to continue to make this a great event. And each year it gets bigger and bigger, more music, more food, more fun, and it's just a great thing to see.
Celebrate Dia de los Muertos in Pacoima, fall into fun at the Griffith Park Harvest Festival, and see a downtown LA landmark light up with music. All this in this week's Things to Do. Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez invites you for Dia de los Muertos Music and Arts Festival in Pacoima. The two-day street festival along Van Nuys Boulevard will feature Latino artists and entertainers, tasty food, contests, and community vendors. You don't want to miss out on this fun and free event for all ages in LA. The festival takes place November 3rd and 4th at 12 p.m. at the Pacoima City Hall, located at 13520 Van Nuys Boulevard. Fall into fun at the Griffith Park Harvest Festival. Celebrate the changing seasons with the second annual Harvest Festival in Griffith Park. Join in for live music, food, local craft, beer, games, climbing wall, and other fun autumn activities. Co-hosted by the Los Angeles Parks Foundation and the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks. The festival takes place Sunday, November 4th from 12 to 4 p.m. at 4730 Crystal Springs Drive. The Triforium in downtown LA lives again. Its original light and sound programs, rescued from dusty 8-bit paper tapes and transcoded into modern software, will return, reacting in real time to live musical performances. For the first time in decades, Angelinos will have an opportunity to experience the Triforium as it was meant to be experienced. See it in action on Friday, November 2nd in downtown LA. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org and check out our newest social media videos, LA This Minute. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Did you know that more than 80% of false alarms are related to preventable user errors, such as open windows or pets? Any motion can trigger an alarm. Thousands of police patrol hours are wasted investigating alarm reports that turn out to be false alarms. That's crime-fighting time lost. Make sure your alarm is working properly.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today.
I'm Mike from Los Angeles. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Hello, it's time again for Adopt a Pet Today, sponsored by the Pet Care Foundation. And today we're at the West Valley Animal Shelter on Plummer Street in Chatsworth. And if that's not a convenient location for you, there are 5 other LA City shelters. You can find them all at laanimalservices.com. That's laanimalservices.com. And today we're going to show you some great cats and dogs, and maybe some bunnies too. One I'm sure that you would love to invite into your family. But again, if you don't see the one just for you, you can see pictures of every animal that they have at all 6 LA City shelters at laanimalservices.com. Now, if you can't adopt, there are other things you can do to help animals. You can foster an animal for a short period of time. It helps them get out of the shelters and be healthy and more adjusted to a home environment. Or you can volunteer. They always need volunteers to socialize animals, to help clean the shelters, all kinds of stuff like that. And if you can't do any of that, you can always donate items. They always need food and toys and blankets and newspapers and things of that nature. So you can always help if you want to. Now we're going to go see some great cats and dogs, one that I think will be perfect for you.
I'm with Amanda and Maynard. Amanda is an ACT at West Valley, and Maynard is not an ACT. He's a dog at West Valley. He is 3 years old. His A number is 180-1810. He's been getting a lot of treats for sitting. He's a beautiful fawn-colored dog. Tell us about Maynard's personality, Amanda.
Well, Maynard is high energy. He would love somebody to take him on hikes or walks. He is very responsive with treats, so training him is fairly easy because he's food motivated, as you can tell. He's got just this sweet, sweet face. He's very high energy. He really likes people. He likes to explore the yard when we take him out, so he's...
Good boy.
Yeah.
Good boy Maynard, has high energy, would prefer to be the only dog, Amanda told me. 3 years old, he's maybe 40 pounds?
He's closer to probably about 65.
Look this way, Maynard. This way. Good boy. Good boy. 65 pounds. He's in good shape. A 180-1810. Only dog. Maynard would like to be the only dog right now. He may get better, but for the time being, if you want a beautiful fawn dog, West Valley. Pluto is about 3 years old. He's a neutered male, A180-7845. He's a big boy.
He is. He was owner surrendered because he wasn't getting along so well with the other dog at the house. So again, would do better in a house where he's the only dog. Come here, bye-bye. And so far he's been really friendly in the shelter. He's really interested in people. As you can tell, he just kind of wants to be all over me. He's a Belgian Tervuren mix. Tervuren? I'm probably butchering the sound of that, but
he's a blonde dog.
Yes, and he's just super friendly. Again, has a lot of energy. His leash manners are really good as far as being with the person that's holding him. He's not pulling too hard. He's a little excited right now.
Well, this is. They just came out of their run, and they're going. He's going. Why am I here? Why am I looking at a camera? I'm kind of excited. There's these people around, and I don't get to go jump on them, and that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. His name is Pluto. I like it. A180-7845. Like Maynard, sterilized, microchipped, and vaccinated. Okay. So they do have other than large dogs at West Valley, but we're still looking at a large dog. A154-6201. This is Rex. Oh, he does fill out his name.
He does. He's 106 pounds. He's a Mastiff. He was owner surrendered because they didn't have time for him anymore. He was housed with a little dog where he lived. Haven't tried him in playgroups in the shelter yet, but he's very sweet with people, really respectful on the leash, easy to walk even though he's huge.
So Rex is about 5 years old, 106 pounds, over 100 pounds. He's actually pretty calm. He's a little bit older, and he's been in a home. So this guy might be easier than Pluto, might not need those long hikes in Runyon Canyon. A1546201. He's about 5 years old. All the animals from the city shelters are vaccinated, sterilized, and microchipped before they go home. And Rex is one of those. And speaking of the shelter, you could use donations sometimes.
Yes.
How about towels and treats?
We use towels more than anything else here in the shelter. We use them as bedding. We use them for cleanup. We use them when we're doing medical treatments, things like that. So towels are always, always useful, always appreciated. Doesn't matter what color they are. Doesn't matter if they're a little ratty. We can use them. And then treats are always great for trying to do enrichment programs. We fill the Kongs with them and give them to the dogs so they have some playtime that keeps them interested. And then we use them in our engagement training, which we have the volunteers do. So treats are always appreciated. I like the chewy ones. Some people like the hard ones. You know, you pick your favorites and we'll take them.
So there you have it. We're back to Rex. He would like some of those treats and maybe a nice warm towel to sleep on. Okay, I'm holding Corky and Amanda is holding Tonto. They're a bonded pair, and they were stray over the counter. Maybe not. But they would really like them to go home together. And you do have a program for two dogs, Best Buddy?
We do have a Best Buddy program. The Best Buddies means that if you pay the full adoption for one dog and it came in with a friend, the adoption is discounted for the second dog.
Awesome.
So we try to keep it reasonable to keep them together.
Awesome. So let me give you some A numbers, or Amanda has the paper. She'll give you the A numbers.
Their A numbers are A181-2352 and A181-2353. That's Corky and Tonto.
How old are they?
They're 8-year-olds, so they're seniors. They just want somebody with a quiet home. They want to be on the couch with you. They want to be near you, and they're just really great little dogs. They're very sweet. They like being together. They like being around other dogs. So no problem if you have another little guy at home. They'd love a new brother or sister.
So they're not yet total couch potatoes. So if you wanted to take them for a walk, I mean, Corky came out with some energy, didn't you, Corky? You came out with some energy. And one thing that Raina, if our trainer had been here, she mentions that dogs that don't know you, you take your time with them. Well, Corky and Tonto were like, okay, you're a person. I like people, so I'll just come sit in your lap. So if you want easy peasy two dogs, oh my gosh, these guys would be it. And you're so cute. You're very cute, Tonto. I like you too. So A numbers one more time.
A numbers are A181-2353 and 2352.
Corky and Tonto, West Valley. Okay, I'm trying to give Roxy a treat, but apparently I don't have one that is important enough for her. Oh, now she wants it. She's 2 years old. And you know, age doesn't always have a particular effect on the activity level of a dog. She seems pretty calm, Amanda.
Yeah, she's fairly calm. Roxy's one of those dogs that kind of gets nervous about new things. So she needs somebody who's going to make her feel secure. She's a great dog. She's very friendly. But new stuff is a little scary for her. She gets a little anxiety and a little bit nervous. So if you go slow with her, she's going to be great. But she wants to be near you, so that's good.
And she knows you, so she's a little calmer, although this is not a situation she's used to. She's getting her image captured on film, and she goes, I'm not so sure I'm good with that, panting a little, which is a sign of some anxiety. Her A number is 1812499. If you want a shepherd-looking dog, look at Roxy. She is gorgeous. 2 years old. Pretty calm, A1812499, sterilized, microchip, and vaccinated. She's gorgeous. How about with other dogs?
I haven't tried her with other dogs yet. She does get a little scared running through the kennels with the other dogs barking. It's very different here in the shelters. But if somebody had another dog, I'd be more than willing to try her out here with another dog in the shelter and see how she does. We like to give everybody all the information we can before they adopt.
Right. And she's a bigger dog, so you may just want one so you can lavish all your attention on Roxy. She's doing very well. I have to say, you calmed down nicely, Roxy. You're gorgeous. Lucky looked like a puppy to me when Amanda brought him out. He is actually 5 years old. So look at Roxy, our big dog before, a little calm, 2-year-old. This is a 5-year-old. and he's a busy little boy.
Yes, he is. He's got a lot of energy. He's 11 pounds. He's a very small dog, but he's got so much personality. He loves being held and carried around. He likes being in your lap. He's very adventurous. He does great with the other little dogs. He gets really interested with the big dogs as well. He's just fantastic.
If you have another dog, say you had 2 dogs and lost one recently, and you'd like a friend for the one you still have, I think Lucky might be the dog for you. 5 years old. Lucky, I love your name, Lucky. A180-7614. He's busy. So hopefully you have a dog at home that would like to be busy. And Lucky is friendly with dogs, with people. You're just darling, Lucky. I love you. Yes, I do. I love you. A180-7614. Okay, we're looking at Blue-Eyed Sinatra. And he's very interested about the previous dogs that have been here. He said, I'm a pretty excited dog. A179-7849. I'm 2 years old. I'm a busier dog.
He's a busybody. He's a puppy. He started off in engagement training down at South LA and was doing really, really well. He needs a partner to finish up his training. He's a young dog. He's a gorgeous dog. So far, he's done really well in our play groups on introductions with other dogs.
This is Sinatra, Blue-Eyed Sinatra. He says, I'm distracted. There are people over there. There are people over here. I like Amanda. There's noise behind me. I'm 2 years old. He's good with other dogs, you said, engagement groups?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. His A number, 179-7849. You want a dog to engage with you? He wants to engage. Look at pretty Blue-Eyed Sinatra. Okay, we're looking at Lisa, and this is a more flattering picture of her because she could use some walks. She's probably had a little more food than is appropriate for her size, but she's doing better, you said.
Yeah, she came in and she was a totally different dog. She was very, very matted. Her hair was very overgrown. She had a lot of skin irritation from fleas and ticks and urine scalding, so she was in pretty rough shape when she came in. Since being groomed and medicated for her skin issues, she's really come out of her shell. It was very painful to touch her before because of all of her skin issues, and now she's very sweet. She enjoys being pet and she enjoys being with people.
This is, what a turnaround. What a turnaround. Amanda said that she's shy. She's shy around people. She came out and took a sniff at our cameraman, came over here and said, yeah, I'll sit up with you. I don't know you, but you're fine. Her name is Lisa, A181-1573. She's only about 3 years old, but she looks like, even though she's a little overweight, could use some walking, she looks like a pretty calm dog overall.
Yeah, when she gets used to you, she does calm down quite a bit, but she still does get very excited. She wants to go for a walk. She wants to explore new things, and that would benefit her because she does need to lose a bit of weight.
So if you're in that program, the need to lose a bit of weight program, Lisa is your dog because she would love to go walking with you. What a sweetie. We're calling her terrier mix, and she has longer hair?
Yeah, she is going to require grooming and haircuts because her hair will grow out. But right now I think she looks fantastic with the short hair, and it's very easy to maintain when it's short.
Easy to maintain, and it's still a little bit warm. She doesn't need a coat to keep her warm. Her name's Lisa. She's microchipped, vaccinated, sterilized, West Valley, A1811573. Amanda has Fabiola. She screamed when we walked in the room, say, come get me right now. My A number is 181-3847. She's 2.5 months old. She's an all-black kitten. She's darling. And she was doing some fair amount of screaming.
She's very vocal. We hear her all the way in receiving when we're sitting up there.
You're darling. Look at the camera, Mama. Look at the camera. Yeah, talk to the camera. Talk to them. Tell them what you want. You want a home. And maybe with another cat, because you're young, you could learn to get along with another cat. A181-3847. She was a stray. You know, it has been kitten season. She maybe was born late in kitten season. She's 2.5 months old. She's kind of enjoying this attention. Good job, Fabiola. She's inquisitive. So if you want a cat that's not just going to hang, she's going to climb all over everything. You're going to need places for her to go. And if you like a chatty Kathy, that's going to be Fabiola. So we are now looking at Tortuga. And we're listening to Fabiola. He's about 5 years old. He actually, it says, has a best buddy.
Yes, he came in with another cat, and we can't house them together because the kennels are a little too small. But he's very sweet. He's very flashy. He's got these gorgeous lamp-like green eyes. He's very sweet with people, a little more cautious, takes a while to warm up, but a very sweet boy.
Tortuga, what a great name, and he is gorgeous, and he's not minding having his image captured on film. He's 5 years old. He has a friend. We may be able to find his friend in here. Right next door, we say A181-4283. Now we're looking at Tortuga's best buddy. This is Talia. She's about 5 years old. Oh, my gosh, she's gorgeous. She's a little more friendly right up. Tortuga's a little more shy. Now Talia's going to get to be held. Well, maybe yes. Oh, there's my best buddy back there. 181-4282. So the cat best buddy program works the same way as the dogs. You get one and the other special rate for the other one.
We actually have our grant with the SPCA going on right now. So adult cats over 4 months are all free.
Whoa, you guys. Did you hear that? She's a best buddy. The adoption fee is covered by the SPCA. This is Talia, her best buddy, Tortuga, and she is also gorgeous in a totally different way. It's her coat. So now we're looking at Chocolate. I picked her just because she's a beautiful Siamese seal point. A180-2797. She's 8 years old.
She's a little bit older, but as you know, cats can live well into their late teens. She's a very petite little miss. She's a very small cat. Very sweet, very curious. She's just in there, having her one of 20 hours of nap time, and we've woken her up. But she's very, very sweet. Not a very vocal cat, like most Siameses can be. So yeah.
She's gorgeous, and I have heard about the talkative Siamese, but I think our little black Fabiola has her beat. Absolutely. She keeps talking. This is Chocolate. She is 180-2797. This is Jazz. I love your name, Jazz, little girl. Excuse me. She's about 3 months old, just a little bit older than Fabiola. A181-2462. It still is kind of the end. Well, in L.A., kitten season is really never over. Usually summertime, but we have a lot of kittens, and they have a lot of kittens here. She's very cute. She's a little bit more of a chewer than a talker. This is Jazz. She was stray. She's darling. 181-2462. A tabby. Oh, she said, I like chewing on your finger, Amanda. It tastes really good. What'd you have for breakfast? This is Amber. He's taking a little bit longer to warm up. He's only been here for a couple of weeks. He was a stray, probably had a home. A181-3938. He's going, I don't know about this being, I'm talking. I'm not so sure I like my picture taken. But he'll calm down.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot going on right now, and cats can be really scared about new situations and things like that. But when you're quiet with him and slow with him, he's very affectionate. He likes to have his head rubbed, and he's just got these full, chubby cheeks that are just so precious. Again, needs someone who's going to go a little bit quieter and a little bit slower with him, but he will warm up.
So if you want a cat that isn't going to just bounce right into your house and run around and be your new best friend, if you want a cat that needs some work, Abner is probably the cat for you. It's nice to give these guys who are a little bit more shy, not right up front friendly, give them a home. He's going to be a perfect cat. You just need to take some time with him. 181-3938. He's about 1.5 years old. Beautiful gray tabby. God, his marking. And he does have nice chipmunk cheeks. Okay, now we're looking at Mitzi. Mitzi is a long-haired cat. And you look at cats and you think not a lot of grooming required. Dogs require grooming. Well, long-haired cats definitely do require grooming. Right, Amanda?
Absolutely. Their undercoat can get matted and it can start to pull and cause them a bit of pain, just like getting knots in your own hair. So there are cats that do require grooming and sometimes even haircuts, and there are groomers that will actually do baths and blowout and haircuts for cats.
Oh, I love that. Let's have a blowout for the cat. This is Mitzi. She's about 12?
She's older, yes. She's about 12 years old. She's very sweet in the kennel, kind of keeps to herself. She's one of those cats that's going to come to you when she needs you.
So if you want a cat that's not all over you, if you want a cat that you don't have to work with but will need some grooming, I think Mitzi would be the perfect one. A181-4961. She's older, but as we've said before when we've talked about cats, they live a long time, and boy, is she gorgeous. Look at that coat, all of the different colors in the coat. Tortoiseshell. A181-4961. Mitzi, West Valley. Like the dogs, microchipped, vaccinated, and sterilized. All animals are before they leave the shelter. We're now featuring Cashew. Beautiful gray and white tabby. You notice we have a lot of different colored cats, size cats, age cats, sex cats. I mean, we've got male and female. We've got kittens. A1805741. She's really only 2 years old, a little shy.
Yeah, again, it's hard in this environment a lot of the times to really get a read on the cat because it is loud. There's a lot going on all the time. So she kind of keeps to herself a little bit more, but when you go slow with her, she's very affectionate. She's, again, a gorgeous cat. They come in all different sizes, shapes, colors, spots, stripes.
She also has some beautiful green eyes. They're the diluted green eyes, not like the other one we saw, but she's interested in following the fingers of our photographer. Look at those eyes. A1805741. She's 2 years old. Her name is Cashew. And you know what? The animals have names. Their names could change.
Yeah, you can always change their names. A lot of times we name them in the shelter and they're here briefly. If you have a name that you think fits them more once you get to know their personality, absolutely change their name. We kind of have to do it on the fly and it's a bit of a rush. We don't really get to know their personalities before we have to name them. So absolutely, you're more than welcome to change any animal that you adopt their name to whatever it is that you feel it should be.
And just talking about names and numbers of animals, we weren't, but I'm going to now. If you didn't see a cat or a dog that you say, that's mine, how many more dogs do you have, for example?
We have, I believe, over 130 dogs right now.
How about cats?
Cats, probably near about 100 at West Valley.
Okay, so you don't like any of the choices we showed you? You have like 75 more cats to look at and probably 120 more dogs to look at. So don't think this is all they have. This is what we have shown you at West Valley. There are plenty more here, so make a trip down here. All the animals will be microchipped, sterilized, and vaccinated. And looks like Cashew is relaxing a little bit. This cat's name is Lynx, and I love it. It's a female. She's about 3 years old. 181-3192. Is she absolutely gorgeous?
Yeah, she's very pretty. She's got a very interesting coloring, like we were saying. We call it a lynx point. So they've kind of got those diluted stripes that blend into this really kind of icy white, creamy color.
Oh my gosh. And she likes Dusty. He can photograph and pet all at the same time. He is the cat guy and the photographer. Her name is Lynx. I love the name. It's perfect for her. A181-3192. 3 years old. Seems like a pretty mellow 3-year-old.
Yeah, she's very interested in people at this point. She was kind of just laying there with her arm hanging out of the cage saying, come pick me next. So she's not super high energy. She's not all over the place. She's an adult, but a young adult. So
and not particularly a chatty Siamese.
Again, not particularly a chatty Siamese here. Could change when she goes home. Of course, we're only spending a couple minutes with each of them here. But she seems to really like Dusty.
Yeah. Well, he is the cat guy. Her name is Lynx, A1813192, only 3 years old. And cats are like dogs too. We've had some cats on the show today that rather stay at the back of the kennel, and now we have a cat that says, I'm ready to be petted. You just come up and scratch my head because I like you and I like what you're doing with me. So this is probably a cat that could move in pretty comfortably. Yeah, and she's got a long, lean body. Whoa, is she special. Well, you might guess by the picture that Dusty has up right now, we're in the rabbit room. It's air conditioned, and you explained to me that they need to be air conditioned.
Well, you can acclimate them to be outside, but bunnies are actually very sensitive to overheating. So when you adopt a bunny, it's very important to make sure that not only are they getting outside time when the temperature is appropriate, but that you also have a place to keep them indoors where the climate is controlled.
You also mentioned that bunnies are not easy necessarily.
No, they're not an easy pet as far as they have a lot of different things that they like to eat. So it can be a very fun pet for someone who likes to cook or likes to shop because they get to try out new foods with them. They like a variety of leafy greens to keep them healthy. They're also very playful, so they like to have toys that stimulation toys and puzzle toys and things like that. They shed a lot, so their cleaning is a bit more, but with a proper hutch, it can be very manageable. Not the cuddliest of pets. When they get picked up, they get kind of scared, but with the right type of handling, they can get used to that and be very snuggly.
You were holding for Dusty to take a picture of a velveteen rabbit, and he was a little tense.
Yes, they get nervous with new people. He was a little tense. They're not used to being picked up, and it's not exactly a comfortable thing for them. But with the right person and with the right ownership, you can get them used to you handling them and handling them properly, and they can be much more at ease with someone that they know.
I did have a friend who had a rabbit. She fostered cats and had dogs, and they all kind of intermingled. I was fascinated because the rabbit actually got quite upset when all the foster cats left. He wanted to be around, but you said they don't always want to be around either another animal or another rabbit.
Absolutely. They can be very particular about their socialization. A lot of times rabbits do well in pairs, so long as the pair is of mixed sex. Mm-hmm. Having two males together can be problematic, which a lot of people who own bunnies know. But also having a small dog friend is totally acceptable for them. And I have a friend who also has a little dog and a rabbit, and the rabbit just gets after that poor little dog. So they're actually very opinionated and funny, and they have these great personalities that come out when you have them at home.
I also work with a rehab facility, and every once in a while, I take dogs there, but every once in a while somebody comes in with a rabbit. Apparently they can have some spine issues. Their physical condition leads to that.
Yeah, they're very fragile animals. If they're picked up improperly, they can actually really hurt their spine from thrashing around and trying to get away from you. So again, it takes a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of caution when handling them because they are very fragile little creatures.
Well, Dusty has shown you that actually at West Valley here we have quite a few white cats, as Amanda mentioned when we came in. But we also had a picture of a velveteen, and here's a black-eared one that's quite cute, and a brown and white one. So you do have some choices, and we've got one that's playing in his litter box underneath all the paper. Rabbits, as you say, they all have their own personalities, just like dogs and cats.
So that's our show. Thanks for watching. I hope you saw an animal that you're going to rush down to the West Valley shelter to adopt. But if you didn't, please check out the website, laanimalservices.com. Again, you can see all the pictures of all the animals at all 6 LA City shelters there. Remember to spay and neuter your pets. It's the law in California, and it keeps them happy, healthy, and at home with you. See you next time on Adopt a Pet Today.